All right. What's up, chat? Let me know if you can hear me all right there in the chat. If you could hear the thump on the microphone, because a little bit of a boomer over here. So yeah, it looks like we're live. All right, cool. Thank you all so much for joining me once again for another live stream here. I got a very special guest, a good buddy of mine. He's been on before with me, and you all probably know him from Hawaii's #1 podcast. That is Mekel Kasanova. Mekel, what's up, man? How you doing today, brother?
Doing good. I'm doing good. It's good to be on the show, and thank you for reaching out and letting me come on. And thank you to everyone in the chat. I see a couple people I know. Zero Fanatic. Hey man, how's it going? I see you.
Yeah, we'll probably have a couple more people filtering in here as the time goes on. Hopefully, I know there's a lot of people streaming today. I think Medicare's streaming, so I know a lot of people are on his stream. But hopefully, they'll come on over. It seems to be like a big stream night for people, and there's some other streams going on today that people are going to be tuning into. But hopefully, you're here for this one to get a little bit of a recap. We're going to be going over a couple things. As you all know, Mekel was at Hawaiicon, which was not last weekend, but the weekend before now. So we're 2 weeks removed from it at this point. But I haven't seen anybody make any videos where they recapped Hawaiicon. Hey, Esme, what's going on? Thanks for joining the chat. Yeah, I haven't seen anybody really recap Hawaiicon. So I guess that would be a good place for us to start, man. Tell us about your experiences at Hawaiicon and what your role was over there.
Well, I mean, I got invited out to Hawaiicon as a special guest to speak on the panel with the son of the creator of Dungeons and Dragons, Luke Gygax. And the panel that I was on was we were talking about better life through gaming and how gaming can help you, improve your life, improve different aspects of social, reading, and just various things of the benefits of gaming, be it tabletop, card games, or video games. And I'm very honored to be have been invited to speak for that. And my entire time, the entire 6 days that I was out there for Hawaiicon, I got to meet and hang out with a lot of people. John RhysDavies, who you guys would know from Lord of the Rings and from Indiana Jones and from Sliders and whatnot. I got to hang out with him. I got to make friends with Mindy Sterling, Eddie McClintock, a lot of different people. I got to hang out with Nick Rekieta and befriend him and Vic. And it was a very fun experience. I'm very grateful to Tim and Stephanie from Hawaiicon, the two directors, and the board directors at Hawaiicon as well, because they were very open, and it is very much the spirit of Hawaii, the aloha family spirit, and just the different things. We had so many panels, so many different things going on. I got to do the Dragon Ball Fighters tournament, which was the biggest in Hawaii history, biggest turnout we've ever had, biggest prizes ever given at a tournament, which is kind of interesting because a little controversy, people, but a lot of the fighting game community in Hawaii actually was boycotting my tournament because of the kick Vic people, and also people not happy that I took it or that they weren't reached out to, so they were trying to boycott and sabotage it and tell people not to go, which was very, very interesting. But I see my Hanai sister Ecstasy Fura Layashi. Hey sis, how you doing? Thank you for coming on the show. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy. it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, that number one, that sucks. That unfortunately that people got to take it to that level where they just because of an interview. And for those of you that don't know what interview that we're referencing, I'm linking it right here in the chat right now, so you guys could check it out. A very good interview that Mekel had with Vic, where it was just a nice conversation. Nothing controversial in it at all. Honestly, just two guys having a real nice conversation about common interest and things of that nature. Hey, what's up, Stan? Just Mekel, that guy right there is the guy said aloha is Stan Dolan. I'm sure you probably know of him. Yeah. But also a native of Hawaii. But awesome. Yeah, so it was a good interview. I saw it. I watched it, almost 30 minutes long. Like I said, just a good conversation. And yeah, there was controversy attached, and even before that, it was because of the fact that you were going to be interviewing him. I know is what kind of was the catalyst for people to start kind of coming after you before you had even done the interview. People were already just giving you grief over it, unfortunately. Yeah. So you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it's really interesting in the sense that I've had a lot of people from different individuals. I've had a lot of voice actors, a lot of very, very prominent voice actors that will be appearing in various media from games and anime and more that you guys would know. I'm not going to name drop anyone, but just coming out of the blue, a lot of them that I was friends with or that I thought I was friends with, to just come out and say, oh, it's in your best interest to not, put out this interview, because if you do, we'll make sure that you will never be able to work with anyone else in the industry. I've got screenshots, I've got DMs, and I've been doxxed since, just because I interviewed Vic. And the thing that's interesting, it really gets me, is like you said earlier, Don, there's nothing controversial at all in that interview. But people, they have this thing, and I understand people in the industry, have been dancing around it, and it's either you're with us or against us type of mentality, and I've told people before, like I just try to, as a journalist, more than anything, my objective is to just deliver you the story. And the story is, I wanted to talk to Vic about things he's interested in, because I've seen other interviews where all people do is they talk about Broly, which, I mean, he didn't speak a lot as Broly, or they talk about Full Metal Alchemist and him being, Edward Elric, or they talk about any other number of things. And my thing is, what I've come to learn in my career as a podcaster and journalist is a lot of these people, for them, it's a job. And so it's something they do to pay the bills. It's not who they are as a person. They don't obsess over the characters that they portray. And there's another dimension and aspect to them that people would like to see and understand. And one of the things that I try to do is, like, I look at other interviews, that way I know what not to ask, and then put the focus in an organic format on my guests. So the whole thing with Vic, I knew he was a fan of Star Trek. I know a lot of people that are Trekkies, and I knew he's a fan of music. He's a musician, and I've never really seen anyone dive into that. It's always about the routine questions. So I'm like, okay, that's why I kicked off my interview with him. Like, hey, we can talk about this, this, and this, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about what you're into, your interest, Star Trek, music, more. Let's just talk about that. And he just, as you saw in the interview, he lit up,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's unfortunate that so many people feel that they need to threaten individuals in that way, and to encourage others to threaten them. It's one of the things that I've seen with voice actors and a lot of people, also in the gaming industry too. I've seen this cult of personality, I guess you could say, where people, they feel like, and they act like they have this God complex, or this I'm the arbiter for whatever. And I'm like, okay, but I'm just an interviewer. Oh, well, if you don't do what I tell you, I'm going to cancel you. And so it's sad, because you can't just objectively call something as it is, or objectively interview, or objectively cover something. It's either you got to be, it's kind of like our political landscape now. It's either you're one or the other. If you're not on either side, you're just as bad. And it's like, really? Anyway.
Yeah. Why can't we just talk as people? And that's
or agree to disagree,
Yeah, which that's the easiest thing to do is agree to disagree and then move on. All right. The things that you don't agree on, okay, you can move on from that and still find some common ground in other things. And that seems to be the biggest issue with a lot of these people that, get into this whole cancel culture thing, right? Like with Vic, prime example of it, it's just like, look, all you're doing is interviewing him. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you know, it's not like you hang out every weekend or you know every aspect of his life. I mean, you're friendly with him because you're interviewing him, sure, but it's, you know, I mean, it's automatically, well, you must believe all the things he believes. You must, you know, all the
Yeah.
things that they ascribe to him. You must be about that life too. And it's just like they make you guilty by association. It's just like, yo, you don't know me. You don't know what my life is, what I do, the things that I am for, and the things that I'm against. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a good example of that is another mutual friend, a mutual friend that we both share. Obviously,
Yeah.
is Ruben Langdon. I mean, I couldn't be any more different from him, but I get along with him just fine, as I know you do too. And there's a lot of things I think that I think you and I can both say that we disagree with Ruben on, but you know, we find a lot of common ground with him too. And
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is. That's the nature of just being really human. Is just having differences, things that make you an individual, and not part of this hive mentality that seems to be seems to be pervading a lot of these hobbies and things that we escape into.
Yeah.
Which that's an unfortunate thing. So hopefully that'll change.
I hope so too. You know, and I hope, you know, I just think as a society, when we've gotten to this point where we can't tolerate an opposing opinion without getting all in our feelings, and it's like it's a scary road that we're going down. And the thing is, I don't think these people who are so of this mindset of canceling others, they don't realize that just as soon as you cancel someone, you can yourself be canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. And it's terrifying.
Yeah, because that's the sword that they choose to live by, but they don't realize that that's the sword that they could also die by.
Yep.
Because that's the atmosphere they've created by being that way.
Yeah.
But they play all kinds of mental gymnastics with it, man. But tell me a little bit more about the video game tournament you did, though, because how was the turnout? I mean, did you get hundreds of participants? How did that go? I mean,
so the way that went, we had a max that we wanted to do of about 35 people, and the turnout was really good. We had a couple hundred people show up that were just there in general at the convention. A lot of people came by, and because we had such an overwhelming amount of people that wanted to participate, and we had a block of time, which my time for the tournament was like 12 p.m. to, or well, for both days it was 12 p.m. to about 3 p.m. because there were other tournaments going on as well, such as a Smash Brothers tournament, you had a D&D tournament, you had a video, well, not a video game, but a board game creation tournament going on that was judged by several legends in the industry, such as John Kovaleski and many others. And there was just so much that I was like, okay, we got a big turnout. People see the prizes. We're just going to do an elimination, and we'll get down to the last amount of people who are left. Then we'll run the tournament there. So I did preliminary rounds, and we got down to about 26 people. And then we started the tournament at 12 p.m. We ran it till about 3. Vic came by the first day just to say hi to everyone, to sign some of the prizes so people could see it, and just meet and greet with the fans. And that's just one of the things, too, that was just really awesome, because you don't see that at other conventions. You don't see, and honestly, like, you don't see people in general that are like celebrities or whatnot actually interacting with with their fans on such a personal level. Like, he was just walking around saying hi to people, taking pictures of people, like, oh, hey, this match is getting intense, and it was really something to see, and I have never seen other celebrities do that. And by the time 3 o'clock came around, we finished up the finals, well, for the first round. And then by the second day, I sat on the panel for the Better Life Through Gaming with Luke Gygax, and also Nora Ibram. I'm butchering her name. Nora Ibrahim. She's a famous D&D player. She's also a voice actress for Ingress by Niantic, same company that does Pokemon Let's Go and whatnot. So she's on that. So she's on that panel as well, along with John Kovaleski and Turbo. And so we did that panel from 11 to 12, and I rushed over to where the tournament was being held, and we had so many more people just show up. We had at least close to like 50 to 60 people that wanted to still play. They're like, hey, can we sign up for the tournament? I'm like, well, the main tournament was already underway, so I can't have you sign up for that. But I had additional prizes that I forgot that I had packed. I'm like, oh, okay, let me see if I can get Vic to sign this. So he signed additional prizes, and then I was like, okay, so how about this? We'll do a tournament, a mini tournament for these other prizes that I have, and which we did. And we had about 30 people enter the other tournament. A lot of people didn't stick around because I guess the time the tournament was going on, so many other panels were going on too. So some people would stay, some would go, and then at the end of that tournament, we had a winner win the original Dragon Ball Z Broly statue, and then that was signed by him. So after that, then we ran into the main tournament. We did the eliminations, best of 10 series, and so then that got down to the finals, and we had our last three winners. And then what we did from that point is we took the prizes, we took it over to where Vic was having his panel, which was outside at one of the Nissan tents. And so we took it over there, and he was about to do his voice acting panel. And then before he started, we gave the introduction. Him and Tim, one of the directors, did the introduction. They talked about the tournament. I got to speak at that part too. And then what we did from there was we just started announcing the winners, third prize, third place, second place, first place, had them on the stage. Vic was signing stuff with him, took pictures with him, congratulated him, and it just went from there. It was really a phenomenal tournament, and I got to give a shout out to the winners, Judah, Gerald, and also Olu. Those were the top three people. Shout out to them.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like it was. So the ambiance seems like at the convention seemed to be pretty upbeat and positive throughout the weekend from the stuff that you've told me about it. And obviously it sounds like the tournament was hype. So this was their first year, right? Hawaiicon's first year, or is this their second year?
I want to say it's either their 6th or 7th year.
Oh, okay. So they've been around for a bit. All right.
A little bit, yeah.
Been around for a little bit, but this year, I know that there's still a small show. So this year, I guess, was pretty big for them in terms of obviously conventions are going to grow over time. The more it's around, and the more the bigger the reputation builds for it. But it seems like, especially from all the things that I was seeing, that at least people that were there were putting out there, it seemed to have a very genuinely positive response throughout the weekend. Like everything was upbeat, everything was good. I mean, I know with conventions there's always going to be hiccups. There's never going to be a perfect, no matter how much you plan. And if Stan's still in the chat, I know he'll attest to this. No matter how much you plan, there's always going to be something unexpected that happens. But that's why you plan as much as you can for when unexpected things happen, and so that you get to handle them as best as you can. But it sounds like for the most part, everything went off without a hitch from what you're saying. I mean, there might have been some minor things because those are things that happen with conventions, but it sounds like everything else was good.
Yeah. I mean, everything went off with. There weren't any snags. Like literally, everything was just like a well-oiled machine. It just kept going, and everyone was awesome. All the celebrities that came out were awesome. All the different, the cosplayers and different panelists and guests that were there, they were all amazing. The staff, I got to give a very big shout out to Jeremy, who was the gaming director. He did a phenomenal job. Anything I needed, he was there to help me with when it came to the tournament. Whether it came to, how we're going to do seating arrangement, or we need TVs or extra controllers. I got to give a special shout out to the Hawaiicon, gaming section as well. Like they just did an absolutely phenomenal job. And the one thing that, and I know Nick Ricada, he spoke on this earlier, I think this week and last week as well, with his recap, was the difference between Hawaiicon and other conventions, even other conventions we have out here, like Amazing Comic Con or Hawaiicon. And others that I've been to on the mainland is they're so busy and it's so stressful. The most time you have to interact with any guest is probably 10 seconds. They'll sign something, say hi, whatever, maybe take a picture. With this one, it's a slower pace, and it may not be as hectic and busy and have as many people as the others, but it's a more personable experience. So you're able to actually have a conversation and get to know some people, and not feel like you're being just hurried off where you gotta stand in a line for like 7-8 hours just to see someone for 10 seconds. It's a completely different vibe. And I gotta give a hats off to Hawaiicon for just being such an amazing innovator with that concept. And it's a chill family environment.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Well, that's one of the also the benefits of when a show is smaller too. It's always going to be those, especially when shows are starting up. When they start off small and they start off modestly, you could expect more things like that. I'm not saying that every convention will do that because depending on who the promoter is for the show, they might have a different vision of what they want with people. But a good promoter will want something like that, at least starting off. They want something that people can remember. And from what I've seen, that's always the best way to start when you're starting off small, is to make it as much of a good experience for people as possible. And one of the best ways to do that is making sure that the attendees get to spend as much time with the guests that they came to see as possible. And it's good that also works best when the guest him or herself are people that like to do that too. Yeah. Because even at a smaller show, if the guest is, if he's not that kind of person that is very personable, you're probably not going to get that. When you approach them, even at a small show, they might not be interested in any kind of small talk. They just want to, get it over with and get the next person in line so they could, get their money and whatnot. But that's also the sign of a good guest when they're willing to spend that little bit of personal time to just say more than hi or bye and actually engage in a little bit of a conversation so that person feels like some kind of connection, some kind of familiarity. Because that's what always keeps people coming back to guests. Like when a guest gets invited to a show multiple times, when they get invited from one year to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the point that they become almost a regular at the show, that's a testament, not just it's a testament to the guest and the convention, but more to the guests, because obviously they just have that kind of rapport, not just with the staff, but with that community too. They become kind of a little bit of a staple. Ruben's like that with AFO. He's been coming to AFO for the last like 5 or 6 years in a row. I think there might have been one show that he might have missed in between that, but he's come back for at least the last 5 or 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, to AFO, because he has that kind of relationship, not only with the convention, but just people, they love him, and they always come back to see him. And that's the thing, when you've been able to do that. Oh yeah, Stan brings up a good point in the chat. Guest selection is also key. Yep. But that's, again, it speaks to that person as well, because they just have that rapport with people, and people are always going to come back to visit them, and they're always going to remember that experience they had with them. They're going to feel, even if they're not necessarily like friends with the person that they talk like every day, they feel like they are, and that's important. That's important to them. That's important to maybe their self-esteem, their self-confidence. It makes them feel special, of course. And it's not a thing of just making them feel special to get their money, because I think at a certain point in time, you can kind of tell the difference between someone that is telling you, or might be telling you what you want to hear, or is humoring you, as opposed to somebody that is just like genuinely cool. You know what I mean? That's why, like with a lot of these guests, they'll actually remember fans' names, right? They'll actually be like, "Hey, so and so, good to see you again." You know what I mean? Because they actually, they actually care. So that's always a beautiful thing when you see that happen with convention guests that frequent these conventions. Like, and there's so much more purity to that too. Like, I've seen so many conventions start off, they try to go big first year, and I'm just like, that there was a convention out here. I'm sure, I don't know if me and you have talked about this. Like, any of our conversations that we've had, but there was a convention out here called 2050 in Daytona.
I think we have.
I think I might have mentioned it before. Yeah, it was an absolute failure, man. It was the one that was done at the Ocean Center, where CEO now hosts their show every year now. It was there, and I remember when I saw the promotion for that show, I'm like, that show's gonna fail, like right from the jump. And they had a solid guest list. That's the thing. I'm just like, they got a solid guest list, but they're gonna fail because they're storming right out the gate with this huge venue. They have no reputation preceding them of being able to put on a show.
Mm-hmm.
They got all these bells and whistles. I'm like, but the problem is that when you do that too, most people, unless it's kind of like spinning off of another show, that can work. But if you're just coming out of the blue doing that, it's transparent to most people. It's just like those people, they're just interested in money. You know what I mean? They don't, that's the way people perceive that. And they don't go to those shows. And that show is one of them. It massively underperformed. Last I heard, and it could just be a rumor, I heard that some of the guests were going to be suing, but that show is done, dead in the water.
Wow.
Yep. One and done. We got Manny in the chat. What's up? Manny is the one who helped me start up this channel. He appears on it from time to time. He's the guy, the Magic Mosquito.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Man. Just so you know. just an FYI for you, bro. Oh, we got Devil Hunter Nero in the chat. What's up, buddy? Thanks for joining. We're getting some more people coming up in here, hanging out with myself and Mekel here, who has been going over his experience at Hawaiicon, which I mean, I guess it's safe to say was a pretty darn good one.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things too. Like I also got to give a special shout out to the Sheraton at Kona, Hawaii. They really, it's a beautiful hotel and resort. Like I think I posted like videos of like the ocean where I was at, and would you believe like that's where we were eating breakfast?
Wow.
Like right there. Yeah. Like I think I put up 2 videos like of right there, and it's like, yeah, I'm sitting here at this balcony just eating breakfast or eating dinner. It was absolutely phenomenal, and I rarely get to go to Big Island, for much anything. Like before I as many people probably already know, like I quit my job to pursue podcasting and content creation full time. And before, I quit my job, I would occasionally go to Big Island, like here and there, but I wouldn't get to do a whole lot of things. But the fact that I actually got to go and experience it, and just, from everything from, my wife being able to go and do breading, and like they were making bread like the old school traditional way, and they got to go and swim with the manta rays, and it's her and Vic and Eddie McClintock and Mindy Sterling and a lot of other people that were just doing all these activities together, and they were doing it also with the fans too, and that's something, again, it's very rare you find these celebrities and entertainers that have that type of personal relationship with. It's very, very, very rare, and it's just one of those things, man. Like it means a lot to me, because I mean, hell, I've interviewed a lot of people on my channel, a lot of voice actors, and some are truly amazing, and others off camera you're kind of like, whoa, I never want to have you on my show again. Like,
yeah. I know how that goes, man. I haven't dealt with some guests, like I said, and it's something that we've discussed before here on the channel, especially when you're behind closed doors with people. You get to see who's really there for the fans, and who's really there just to wear a mask for the fans. So it becomes pretty clear. A lot of them are a lot more transparent than what people think. And sometimes some of them don't even care. Some of them will, they don't care if they get so jaded, they don't care if fans see that side of them. They get to a point where some don't even give a damn. That they'll just let it all hang out, and it's just like, what are you doing, man? Protect your brand, bro. It's just like, because the thing is, at least if you got to fake it to make it, okay, you got to do what you got to do to get that money, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's so much easier for them just to be, genuinely nice, to not act nice, but actually genuinely be nice, that goes a longer way for them. And the thing is, like I said, people I think are smart enough to pick up on the fact when people are faking it after a while. They'll know, like me, like immediately I'll know when somebody's humoring me. And I'm talking about guests here, when somebody's humoring me as opposed to them actually listening to what I'm saying and engaging me in an actual conversation. Mm-hmm. Me, personally, I don't care for that. I don't care when a guest tries to humor me and I'm just like, hey, listen, I've had it before in the show that I was a staff part of. I'm like, yeah, I'm a part of staff, man. I'm not just some fanboy. You don't need to like come at me like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just be real with me. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I don't deal with it. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Move on. Next, and it's not a thing of treating them with disrespect. It's just kind of like, okay, all right, let me just arm's length with this one, and just deal with the people that are a little bit more manageable. But so you had, of course, like you said, you had a good experience with Vic. I want to know what was up with John RhysDavies, bro. What was up with him, man? We're talking about an OG actor there. He was he was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was Gimli in Lord of the Rings. He was in Sliders, which is the show that I saw him in the most, with Sliders with Jerry O'Connell. Mm-hmm. What was up with that guy? How was he?
John is such a character. He is such an amazing guy. Funny. You can get the guy talking. He'll just start talking. And it's something too, like, I was so nervous when I met him. I was like, oh my God, this is John RhysDavies. And
yeah, you grew up watching that dude.
Right? It's like, oh my God, like what do I say? What do I say? Like, how do I introduce myself? And I was just standing there and awestruck, and he just walked up to me. He's like, what? Well, hello. He's like, I don't believe we've been introduced. I'm John. I'm like, hi. He's like, oh, just calm down. It's okay. Like, come on. He's like, just bring it in. He just gave me a hug. It's like he's such a character, man. I love that guy. He's very personable, very approachable, and just he loves his fans. He loves his fans. He's someone that if you were to meet him, you can meet him anywhere and just stop and talk to him. That's how down to earth.
That's cool.
It was amazing.
Is he does he live in Hawaii? Or is he? Or is he in California?
I think he's in California. You know what? I'm gonna look that up now because I'm too sure.
I was wondering about that because I don't recall like seeing him at very many conventions. So I was wondering if that's because he's further out somewhere. I mean, or maybe I just haven't paid attention to enough, like movie type conventions or comic book conventions that have hosted him or something. But I when I saw his name on the list, I was just like, man, John RhysDavies, man. I don't think I can't remember the last time I saw him as a guest for a show. And it's not because of anything bad that I heard about. It's one of those things like, it's not a name that I've seen too often in the last couple of years in terms of convention guest lists.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, hopefully, but it sounds like it's not because of his attitude. It sounds like he has a pretty good attitude. Is a jolly fellow. Is what it sounds like. So
very jolly. I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, I say he played Arturo in Sliders.
Right? Nah, he was just, dude. He was so amazing. Like he just walk up, everyone there too, man. Like even Eddie McClintock from like Warehouse 13. Like that guy is hilarious. I love that guy. He just I walked up to him. I was like, "Can I take a picture of you?" He's like, "Only if I can take a picture with you." And I was like, and then like we got to eat dinner with him, hang out with him. We were in his panels. He is so down to earth. Him and his family are amazing. Simply amazing.
Yeah, that wanted me that reminded me, I should say, I wanted to ask you about the panels that you were a part of. Oh, real quick though, Stan says he reminds me of the Brigadier from Doctor Who. Yes, that's a reference to. I think that's a reference. Is that from Eddie McClintock? I guess is who he's referring to, or
I'm thinking,
or John RhysDavies.
I think John. I think he means John RhysDavies. I think.
Yeah, but yeah, I wanted to ask you, man, how was it like on those panels? Because I've staffed at conventions before, and I did. I've only ever done one panel that I was a part of with one of my friends. It was a Super Sentai panel. I was just kind of like a guest speaker on it, only for a few minutes, because it was a panel. It was a convention that I was working, so I really couldn't spend the whole time up there. So I was just popped in for like 5 minutes to say a few words, and then I was gone maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Then I was gone. But what was it like for you, man, hosting these panels, man? Were you nervous? How did things go?
Dude, I was so nervous. And the thing is, a lot of people they don't believe me when I tell them I'm shy. They're like, "No, you're not. You do podcasts. You do YouTube." I'm like, that doesn't mean I'm an extroverted introvert. I was really nervous because I sat on the panel. It was me, Luke Gygax. It was Turbo from Monster Fight Club. He's the CEO and president and founding partner of that company. That was nerve-wracking. I love Turbo. He's an amazing guy. Nora Ibrahim and then John Kovaleski, and we were all sitting up there. Not only was I a panelist for it, I was also a moderator as well. And it's the first time I've ever moderated or spoke on a panel before, and I'm over here and then I'm just I'm looking at the crowd. I'm so nervous, and then Turbo's sitting right next to me. He's like, "Hey, supposed to say something right now." I'm like, "What am I supposed to say?" He's like, "I don't know. Say something. Hi, how are you?" And we took questions from the audience, and then I spoke on the video game aspect of it because I'm primarily one of the few. I was one of the few speak about video games up on the panel, but it was mostly board game, tabletop games, and card games that they were talking about and referencing how it improves gaming. But then, I shared a couple stories before about at the panel, like when we were talking about how it betters people. I shared a personal story that it helped better me because one, I don't I'm dyslexic, and as a kid, my mother struggled very much to get me to read and get me to enjoy and expand my my imagination. And so what she ended up doing was giving me Final Fantasy VI. And between that and Xenogears and Final Fantasy VII, it just opened me to a whole new world. And then I got into Dungeons and Dragons, and I got into tabletop gaming, and I got into reading sci-fi. It got me into Star Wars, got me into Star Trek. And it just, it let me live in another world, and it let me escape the reality of, I grew up poor and had a rough upbringing, and it allowed me to escape that. And, I got to speak on how that really helped me. And then a lot of others in the audience could relate to that, and they were sharing it too. So, after a couple of minutes, I would say that it really got to a point where I stopped being so nervous because I was like, oh, okay, I'm up here. I know what to do now. But it's different. It's really different. Being a panelist and being a guest are completely different. You have schedules. Sometimes you want to just keep talking and talking and talking, but you can't because, right after yours, there's probably another panel that's about to go on. So you got to wrap it up within the last 5 or 10 minutes. And then you've got to make sure everyone's out so that the next person can come in because everything's on a schedule. So it's really different being a panelist, but it's fun. I love it.
Yeah, I know how that goes because I was that was one of my primary responsibilities for the show. I was staff off was doing the panel schedule, which was pretty much the foundation for the whole weekend. The whole weekend's schedule. So. I know how that is, having to make sure everything is, starts on time, ends on time, and there's enough time to clean up all the stuff in between, make sure the room is set for the next thing that's got to be in there. So I know all that running around. It's exhausting, man. It's exhausting being a part of convention staff, man. But there's a great sense of accomplishment after it's all done. But man, you got to be on a panel with the son of a legend. You got with Gary Gygax's son. That's awesome, man. Bro, I've only played Final Fantasy maybe like once or twice ever with actually Manny, who's in the chat right now, and I had a blast when I played it. And obviously, it was one of those games that was highly influential, not just in the online gaming things, specifically, MMOs, how it influenced MMOs, but just gaming in general, tabletop as well as video gaming. It's Dungeons and Dragons was pretty much the thing that it was a milestone in role playing games that kind of changed the course of it. And you got to sit on a panel with the son of the man.
Yeah.
Oh, well, one of the men, because we got to give it to Arneson too. He helped Gary Gygax create all that. But how was that, man? Like, did he tell any stories about his pops? Like, what is Luke Gygax like?
Luke is super down to earth, man. Like, I got to befriend him, and I got to interview him too. I put the interview up on my YouTube channel and on my podcast. And it's like I got to just sit and talk with him, and about, I asked him, I'm like, what is it like being, the son of a legend, and also a legend yourself, running you're the head honcho of GaryCon, and, being at different conventions and all the different things you get to do. And he's like, man, he said, as far as it goes with like my dad, he's like, he said, I never thought of him as, oh, you're Gary Gygax, a legend. No, that was just my dad, and he talked about, the different benefits of how tabletop gaming, and how he got into it, and how, he's able to share it with his children, and running GaryCon, and the fun aspect of it, and getting to hear all the different stories of how, Dungeons and Dragons and how GaryCon and more have like helped positively impact people's lives. It was just really amazing. He's very, and I know I said it's already, very down to earth. Like, you literally just sit and have a drink with the guy and just talk to him, walk up to him, take a picture with him. Like, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah, it sounds like it, man. I definitely hopefully hope to cross paths with him someday at a show that I'm at as well, and just maybe pick his brain a little bit about some of the stuff. Maybe he knows a little bit some of the inspirations that I'm sure you probably asked him that in your interview, right? Some of the inspirations maybe that his father might have had, or things like that.
Yeah.
About creating Dungeons and Dragons. So I haven't had a chance to watch the interview yet, man. I'm gonna have to watch it now. I'm sharing it here in the chat for y'all. I shared the Vic Mignogna interview and the Luke Gygax interview, so you guys check that out when you have a chance. And make sure, if you could share, for those of you in chat, if you could share the Vic Mignogna interview, please, be sure to get that out there, because it's started to get a little bit of a coverage now with bounding into comics and One Angry Gamer, and hopefully some other sites will pick it up. I think it's a good interview because, like I said, it just shows like that he's just a normal dude. He's just a normal dude.
Yeah.
Just that had just was speaking about the stuff that he likes, and he's not the things that people are out there accusing him of. I think that comes across in that interview. So
yeah. And and I understand, like, a lot of people think that, when you do an interview, a lot of people put on a mask to present a certain way. And I want to put this out there in case anyone is having that thought or that question. But Vic is the same on camera as he is off, and he's just a very personable, sweet, humble, down to earth person. I spent the entire convention with him, both for the panel hours, or the convention hours, and after hours, because we had a lot of after hours events that were going on with the entire all the guests and the staff of Hawaiicon. And Vic is just really down to earth, and all the things that people have said about him, literally, I don't understand why, other than jealousy. I'm not trying to say that people are like, oh, you're victim shaming. Something my friend Lucas says, or our friend Lucas says, I don't believe women, I don't believe men, I believe facts and evidence.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this. If Vic was guilty of anything, why was there not anything to go to authorities, to the police? Why is it in this current era? And you've noticed this, John, you've more than likely noticed this too. Anytime something is popular, there's a cancel culture mob to go after. They went after Vic. They went after Ruben right after Devil May Cry 5 dropped. Literally right after. And they went after Todd Habercorn. They went after so many different people. I mean, we just recently had a video game developer take his life because of Zoe Quinn.
Yeah.
And the lies that she told. And this whole concept, and maybe this is controversial for me to say, but this whole concept of just believe women, believe her, women don't lie. Women, like men, are human. Humans lie for different gains, different reasons. You need to believe facts and evidence, not just because anyone just says something. Because essentially, what we've brought back is the witch hunts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing I've learned is you don't apologize to the mob.
Nope.
Because they're not content with getting you out. They want to end you. And it's just, and with myself being doxxed, with people trying to cancel me, these voice actors and whatnot, trying to cancel me. I'm just a guy in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that has a microphone that likes to talk.
Yeah.
And now they want to cancel me. Okay, cool. Good luck. And like I told various actors, very prominent actors, go ahead and cancel me. I'll pivot to something else. I already announced I'm interviewing Brock Lesnar. So that was a giant. That was a giant fuck you.
Yeah. That's right. Guys. Exactly. Yeah, there you go. They can't stop you, man. And that's the thing that's their go-to is just to try to blacklist and cancel people. To answer your question in chat there, Kamen Rider 64, have you guys lost all respect for Funimation? Oh yeah. I mean, I was never a big fan of Funimation to begin with. I had heard of controversies with them over the years and stuff behind the scenes. And mind you, I know of some of the allegations that have come out, the whole casting couch stuff and all that, but I'm not, look, I give that voice actor the same courtesy I would give Vic. If any evidence comes out to prove it, I'll believe it. But until there's evidence to back it up, it's just hearsay. You know what I mean? It's, I'm not going to believe any accusations until there's something, tangible to back them up. So, but yeah,
No, I was going to say to add on to what you were saying, we've got this whole thing now where people are talking about their truth. It's like, no, it's not your truth. It's either the truth or a perception or an opinion.
Yeah.
It needs to be, the truth is undisputable. And when people, and I've noticed this has been pushed on society, when people keep saying my truth, my truth, my truth. Okay, so then you're putting it you're contextualizing it in a way that it can't be challenged, even if it's false. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this is my truth. No, that's a perception of, because you can have 3 different people look at this Full Throttle can, and we can all say it's blue, or one person can say it's blue, one person can say it's fuchsia, one person can say it's aqua or Gemini or whatever. It's going to be different takes on what is, which is it's blue. But we just, it's scary, man. It's so scary. People keep saying, oh, my truth, my truth, my truth. No, it's either the truth or it's a lie.
Yeah.
Or misunderstanding and misrepresentation. It's scary, man. Like I can't imagine being a young person growing up in this current era. I really can't. It terrifies. I'm so glad I met my wife when I did. I'm so glad I'm not single. I fear for guys now.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, because they don't. Again, they can get caught up in something, and just because of their lack of maturity or experience, they're just, they get caught up in something that they don't necessarily fully understand. Really, and by accident at
Yeah.
this point, because there's no. I mean, you have to be like on it, right? You have to be on it 24/7, always constantly checking to see what it is that people find offensive. It's like this constant walking on eggshells of not offending anybody because of I don't know, anything is as easy as just saying the wrong thing, or just even, I mean, think about this, probably even to the point where just maybe just kind of looking at somebody in passing could cause some kind of issue for you, right? Depending on how somebody reacts to it. So it's crazy. I was there was this news report that I heard earlier today where this person was trying to sue a restaurant, I believe it was, for not hiring them because she wasn't skinny enough. And the thing is, it's kind of like she tried to sue, and they're like, yeah, that case is probably not going to go nowhere. Like, lawyers were saying, like, it's probably not going to go anywhere, because it's almost like this person was looking, because the thing is, I guess this particular restaurant has, it's kind of like one of those Hooter types where the women are kind of, a little bit more scantily clad and things like that. And, girl that was trying to find the job there was heavy set, and it's just like, she was trying to go in there. It's almost like she was doing it just for the fact that she knew she could drum up some controversy over it because of, I guess, body positivity and things like that, so it's people are just looking for a reason in some of these cases, just to start up a controversy where there's really none there, but you're just looking for it because you're looking for some kind of attention. And that's what I think with a lot of these people that have made these accusations. It could be possible that some of them really believe that they've been wronged in some way because of some kind of way they see the world or views that they have. But I think often the case is, it's that people are just looking for attention, and they're willing to do it any way they can, even if they have to go about it a negative way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and it's I don't know if you heard about the guy who sued his parents because they didn't ask him for his consent to give birth to him.
oh my goodness, that's a real thing.
because they say that's he said that's his truth, and like they didn't ask him for his permission to give birth, and I'm over here like,
To be born?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I guess he could try to expunge his own seed from existence, see how that goes for him. I don't think that's going to work for him, though, unless he's got a time machine.
It's insane, the mentality that so many people these days, like, it's almost like we're normalizing insanity.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, the fact that people, nobody's looking at things all that objectively anymore. It's just about their emotions, how they feel about it in the moment. I mean, look, we're seeing it with like this the Joker movie. I watched it. I thought it was fantastic. Best movie I've seen this year. And honestly, I saw nothing in that movie that I was just like, I don't see how anything in here is really going to radicalize anybody. And I don't see any of this glorification or glamorization of the things people keep accusing it of. None of that is in there. You know what I mean? As far as I'm, at least not that I can see. I mean, obviously, I get that it's a piece of cinema and art is subjective to people. So people are going to take it how they want to take it. And that's fine. They could have their take on it. But it's to the point of absurdity where people are, they're really trying to draw stuff out sometime that isn't actually there. And that to me is also kind of concerning when people try to draw all these, they seem for these inferences and things that they see in it. Sometimes I think things are just what they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people should just see them for what they are. But it's like they're trying to be so woke that they're just like, I could see more to it. It's really saying this, and they say that, but then they don't base it with any kind of any kind of information or any kind of evidence. They don't really have anything to back that claim up. It's just the way they feel about it, and that's it. They don't really bring up anything that they can say is really substantive. You know what I mean? In terms of proving their point, it's just how they feel about it. And it's just like, okay, I mean, that's just your opinion. No, it's this. Well, no, that's just your opinion. And that's okay. You could have that opinion, but don't try to make it seem like what you're saying is fact when it's not.
And you notice this whole thing too, these people that are always talking about they're all about freedom of choice and freedom of this and freedom of that. And these, God, I hate to call them social justice warriors because I sound like a broken record because so many people call them that. But it's just one of those things where these people, these SJWs, I'll just call them that, they are the very thing they claim to hate. They're like, oh, you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me how to live my life. But yet you're trying to conform everyone to your worldview.
Yes.
And it's terrifying.
That
Absolutely
really is.
terrifying. And it's like, just, okay, and I'm going to see the Joker movie tomorrow. And even I'm like, what is all this controversy about the movie? I don't get it. Not from any of the things, any reviews I've watched, any, even from talking to Lucas or others. A lot of people are like, we don't see what people are trying to make a controversy about.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to say one thing that a lot of these sites are saying is that it's ultra violent. It's really not. It's like it's really tame in comparison to a lot of. I mean, don't get me wrong. The violence is enough to justify an R rating for the movie, but they act like it's so. When I hear ultra violence used to describe this movie, when I hear that term for a movie, I think a movie like like Hostel or Hostel 2. Those are ultra violent movies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I would even to a degree, maybe you could even though I would say probably it's tame in comparison, some of the Saw movies in comparison to like Hostel, you know what I mean? They're tame in comparison to Hostel, but even that you could probably loosely say that that's an ultra violent movie. And it's funny because they're making it seem like Joker is like this really bad ultra violent movie. I'm like, no, it's not. It's really tame in comparison to not only other movies that have an R rating that are out right now, but like tame in comparison to other to other movies in the past that have had that kind of ultra violence label to them. You know what I mean? Like I said, Hostel is one that you could say that about because Hostel is a movie that I mean, I remember the reports that were coming out of the theater. I mean, one of my friends that actually went to go watch the movie in the theater said that the guy, like 2 or 3 seats down from him, actually threw up, like, watching the movie right there. Like he couldn't get up quick enough. And he was like holding his mouth, but he was like throwing up, you know what I'm saying? Because of all the nasty stuff that he, in Hostel, you know what I mean? There was reports of people like passing out in the theater and people leaving the theater screaming because of how like violent it was. So to me, that's like, okay, you could say that's an ultra violent movie, but Joker, nah, it's really not. It's really not. I'll put it like this: Scarface, which is a movie that is like over 30 years old at this point. Now that I would even consider that to be an ultra violent movie compared to Joker. You know what I mean? If you've seen Scarface, you know what I'm talking about. The chainsaw scene and a couple other things, like that's way worse than anything that you'll see in Joker. Way worse. So, and this whole thing that it glorifies gun violence, dude, like you hear something like that and you're thinking that it's going to be like a Rambo movie, right? Where he's just shooting people from beginning to end. And it's not that either.
What didn't they go after Rambo, the new Rambo movie?
Yeah. Yeah. They went after that one too. And from what I understand from people that have seen it, they said it's more, they say that it's more violent than the one before that one. So probably that one would be considered ultra violent compared to Joker. But like I said, they try to mislabel the movie to kind of dissuade people from watching it, but it's having it's having the complete opposite effect. It's making people want to see it more. And it's just like, y'all do this all the time. You paint something out to be much worse than it is. And the way people react to that is that they kind of develop a little bit of a morbid curiosity for it that much more, even if they weren't necessarily interested in seeing the movie before. Well, now you're starting to pique their interest more, like, what's up with this movie? Why do people keep talking about it? You know what? I think I want to go see it now. I wasn't interested in it before, but so many people are talking about it. I want to see what all the fuss is about. That happens. You know, that you're just selling more tickets for the movie. So go ahead, you know, keep doing what you do. You know, keep saying all the things that are completely untrue about it and see how that works out. We're talking about Joker Chrono. Logan and Deadpool were way more violent than Joker. Yeah, I would say so. I've seen those movies, and I would say, they were way more violent. Deadpool especially. Way more violent than Joker. Way more. So.
And you didn't see him trying to cancel Deadpool.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too, like I said, so many things that they say about it, and how honestly they make it seem like there's this thing going on with the Joker, like that they talk about his privilege and all this stuff. None of that exists in the movie. The character is not privileged at all, and you see that from the very beginning. But I don't want to get too much into it because you're gonna go watch it. So you'll see what I mean. Like once you actually watch it, bro, it's a good movie. And honestly, if there's anything bad that I've heard people, and I wouldn't even say it's bad, but I understand like the criticism from a lot of people is that it's a little bit boring. I could see that being an argument for it, but it's not really. It wasn't to me. To me, it kept me engaged the entire time. I was very much into it from beginning to end. But if somebody were to say, it was a little bit slow paced, I was like, I get that because there's people that might have gone in with expectations of it being an action movie, but it's not. It's not at all. I wouldn't even consider it really a superhero movie or a supervillain movie. It just has that kind of wrapping around it. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what was used to promote it that much more. But it's really there's a video that I made where I kind of reiterate this. It really is, I think, what the director intended it to be, and that's a case study in mental illness. So you'll see what I mean, bro, once you watch it, man.
But it's the other thing I've noticed too is so many people have been. I feel like Marvel movies have become so mainstream, and so anytime something doesn't come off like a Marvel movie, people don't know how to respond to it. It's like, oh, this isn't good because it's not Marvel. Like, no, that's not it. And I can see it being a case on mental illness because, I mean, the Joker is mentally ill. He is insane. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that in so much over the last couple decades with comics, with the anime TV show, with the movies, with the Arkham series of how insane the Joker is. He's not a mentally stable character, and I don't understand this whole thing where we can't speak about the problems with mental illness because it might offend somebody or it's insensitive. But we can lob insults at people who don't think or believe the way it's a hypocritical stance.
Yeah.
If you're going to apply a standard, it's something my dad always used to say. If you're going to be fair across the board, which means it applies to you, it applies to everyone else. But if you can't apply a universal standard of rule, then it just doesn't apply. Because I see people say, "Oh, we got to be about this, we got to be about that, blah 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 blah." We're inclusive, and oh god, I hate inclusivity groups. Okay, let me paraphrase that before he gets taken out of context.
Yeah, right.
I don't hate them. I hate the idea that they talk about being inclusive and safe spaces, but they're very exclusive in many ways. So anyway,
funny how that works though. Right. We got Broly Power Maximum asking you a question in chat. Let's see. Did Mekel Kasanova see Monica and Ron's depositions? How embarrassing! He assaulted me at the hotel room. Then Stan saved me. Then went to a group dinner. Then I went back to his hotel room patio and Sniff talked to Michelle. good story, March. I don't think you haven't really been following that all that much, right, Mekel? So you want to field that question or not?
No, I haven't. She. But okay, here's the thing. Can I say this without? No, it's gonna be controversial. Me saying this anyway. Fuck it. So I don't understand if these people have felt that he was such a bad person this entire time and they've known, why now?
Yeah. Well, that's something that Stan, if Stan is still here, Stan kind of he rebutted that too in his affidavit. And Stan, you know, he's mentioned this in a couple of the streams that he's been on. He's clearly said, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Stan, if you're still here in the chat, that if he had known that any of this stuff was going on with Vic at any of his shows, he's like, you really think I would have invited him back? You know, knowing that he was doing any wrongdoing, or if any of this had gone on, and that's true. You know, I mean, and another thing, I remember I asked Stan this on one of Arcada streams, and his response was perfect to it. I had asked him, would you agree that if any promoter worth his weight would that wants to protect the integrity of the show, do you think that they would ever cover for the criminality or risk the integrity of the show by covering for the criminality of one of its guests? And Stan's response was like immediate and perfect. He said, we'd be the first ones calling the police. And that's 100% true. Like any promoter that really cares about his business and cares about running a good show for everybody, they're going to protect it tooth and nail. They're not going to risk covering for a lowlife guest at their show. It's not worth it to them in the long run. There is no upside to that at all. That's like whenever I see these things posted online with people talking about, there's shows that have non-disclosure agreements for attendees that stuff has happened to. That's BS. That there's no upside to that. No convention benefits from that at all by trying to cover that up. A good promoter for a show that cares about his business will absolutely be the first one to go to the guests and be like, hey, listen, we're going to make this right, or, we're going to go to the police.
Yeah.
We are not going to risk our business on you being a scumbag lowlife. You take responsibility, or we're going to take this to the next level and we're going to get the police involved. So, there's no upside at all. There's no upside at all to any convention doing that. And it's funny that so many of these conventions came out, or people from these conventions supposedly, coming out after the fact saying, oh, we've known for years. It's just like, and you didn't do anything about it. Really? And I think Lucas said this once. I don't know if it was in regards to this situation. I believe it was in regards to the whole Vic situation. He said, now I'm looking at you, and it's just like, it's true. Yeah. Now we are looking at you. I'm going to look at another convention promoter and be like, yo, what kind of show you running over there, man? You know what I mean? For real, because you knew all this time and you didn't do anything. It shows how much you care about your show. Shows how much you care about your attendees. You know what I mean? Supposedly you got a criminal at your show, but you ain't doing nothing about it. And yet you're going to keep inviting him back for however many years you invite him back from. Yeah, no, I don't buy it.
And that's the thing too, is like, I don't think people understand how these conventions work. These conventions, they screen their guests.
Mm-hmm.
And people seem to, I've seen some people say that, if he got booted from X amount of conventions and that shows he's guilty. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's just some people may not want the controversy.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, and look, conventions always come across some difficult guests, right? Some that are a little bit prima donna, maybe a little diva-ish at times, and they don't really get along with them. There is conventions do blacklist guests, but that's not something that they really talk about publicly. They just won't invite a guest back if a guest, if they're having too much, if the guests themselves is not worth the hassle. Like they're just too difficult to work with and they're completely unprofessional. They won't invite them back, but that's not to say that that's them covering for any kind of criminality. Because I'll tell you right now, if it's any kind of criminality, they will get police involved and make sure that person pays for it. You know what I'm saying? But if a guest is difficult to deal with, they might just not invite them back to the show, and that's about it, and then just kind of move on. But they don't really make that kind of a public thing. Now, promoters do talk amongst each other, and a lot of times if one promoter talks to another and they ask about a particular guest, the promoters might say to each other, yeah, so and so is okay to deal with, so it could be a little bit difficult, but they don't necessarily, it's not that they necessarily go out of their way to defame that person either. I mean, I guess it just depends on the promoter. But again, I've never at least come across any promoter that has said that they wouldn't invite somebody back because of something criminal that they did. I've yet to meet a promoter that has said, oh yeah, we didn't invite him back because, he slept with an underage girl one time. That's never happened. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that, again, police would be involved in.
Yeah.
Police reports would be filed by the convention. That would be more than just, oh, he's never invited back again. That'd be the kind of stuff that they would make sure, because they don't want to be the ones on the hook for it, would make sure that something gets done over that person is done, so.
Yeah, in many ways, and maybe the audience may not, they may not know this as well, but the video game industry, you're working with the PR teams and developers and publishers and whatnot. It's the same, like the way the cons are. They all talk. They don't make public statements, but they all talk. It's a very, very, very small circle. And if one has a bad experience with a certain individual, trust and believe, everybody's going to know. Everybody's going to know.
Yep. See, like Stan said, that would destroy your show and rep. Like, nobody is going to risk that. And the fact that there's people out there that have said, or people that represent conventions that have said, oh, we knew about it for years, but yet you did nothing. You know what I'm saying? And to me, again, if that was actually a thing that was true, that was provable, I mean, that'd be it. That'd be it for that show. That show would be dead in the water. You're done. You know what I mean? Especially in this day and age that we have this, this cancel culture. You know what I mean? Forget about it. And even if not, it's just out of sheer principle. People just wouldn't support that show no more. It's just like, okay, you're done. That's it. You'll never do a show in this town again.
Right. So
the fact that, like I said, that's what makes it that much more unbelievable. When these supposed people that run these shows are saying, oh, we've known about it for years, and you just didn't do that. Sure. Yeah, I totally believe you. Yeah. Really, you can't be that dumb. That's why, like, there's a guy out there that's who has been a vocal, we'll say a vocal detractor of Vic, that apparently also runs shows. I'm not going to mention his name here because he doesn't need any publicity from me, but I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat knows who I'm referring to. He's a gentleman that is particularly fond of eating shoes. But this guy had the nerve to put it out there, like that they banned somebody from the show from his show for being in support of Vic. And on top of that, went a step further and said F professionalism. And it's just like, who talks like that? You know what I mean? You're a guy that's sitting here trying to run your own shows. I look at that and I think, you must not want to do this long term if you're out there talking like that. If you're out there putting something so stupid out there, you know what I mean? Like, how do you expect your show to grow, man? And it's just like, you think that those words are not going to come back and haunt you once you reach a certain threshold? You know what I mean? You think that guests that have any kind of integrity are going to look at that and say like, oh yeah, I definitely want to do this guy's show. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, bro. It's just like, you got to be kidding. You got to be kidding me, man. Putting that stuff out there. It's just like, it's so absurd to me, man. It's just like you can't. I look at that. I'm like, this guy cannot be serious about running shows in the future. He can't be. He can't be. It's just like, you know, putting stuff out there like this just so casually. This dude cannot be serious about doing this long term. I don't see it. I don't see it with that kind of behavior. You know, and the thing is, I guess he feels, well, I'm just catering to a specific audience. I only want certain people to come to my show. Good luck with that, because if that's your mindset, your show will never grow outside of a certain margin because of that kind of behavior. Yeah. Your show will always be a little rinky-dink show. If you ever want it to be something that could potentially grow to make you money, good luck. You know what I mean? Because all that does, that's going to alienate your base. And eventually those same people that support you, right, initially, when they grow older and get a little bit more mature and look at the dumb stuff that you said or have said, they're going to be like, why am I going to this guy's show? He's an idiot. You know what I mean? So good luck to him. Good luck to him with that kind of attitude and starting a business. You know, yeah, I'm sure that's a fantastic business model. Yeah, alienate people right from the jump. Let's see how that works out for you in the long run.
That's
literally, he literally said F professionalism in one of his posts, bro, on a public forum. I don't know if he said it on Twitter or on Facebook, bro, but I'm just like, okay. Just remember, you put that out there, man. You put that out there. And what's the one thing that they always say? People like him, people like of that mindset always say, freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence, I think is what they always say.
Yeah.
It's like, you do realize that you know, that applies to you too. Yeah, exactly. You're not exempt from that just because you say that. So, Broly is saying something. He also supposedly let someone into the con, do the rounds, paying for signatures, and then kick them with no refund once he closed the doors. Yeah, that was another thing. They talked about kicking a dude out because the dude was apparently, and get this, because the guy was a known Vic supporter, that was enough to get him kicked from the show. Now, mind you, as far as we know, apparently this guy wasn't at the show actually causing any trouble. Yeah. But because they were able to identify him as somebody that was a supporter, that was enough to kick him. I'm just like, yeah, man, it's ridiculous. No, but they did it after he had already spent some money at the show. So I guess that they were at least smart enough to do that. But yep. But yeah.
Where have I been for all this stuff? Like, I feel like my head's been in the clouds.
Bro, I'm gonna have to fill you in on a bunch of stuff, bro. Like once we you know, I'll fill you in on a couple things, man, that you've probably not been in the loop about. But yeah, man, these people out there, man. Oh, hold on, Broly is saying he said he supported Vic months ago on Facebook. Yeah, he's the same guy we're talking about, the convention promoter supposedly. So whatever, man. Like I said, that's not. Okay, Stan is saying a supporter who made fun of Ron on Facebook. Oh yeah, that was the guy that got kicked out. Some guy that was a Vic supporter that made fun of Ron Toye on Facebook. That was enough to get him kicked from the convention. Mind you, you know, something that actually didn't take place at the convention, as far as I know. The guy didn't go and harass anybody at the convention, but because he had said stuff online, that was enough. So we're at, man. Yeah, you're gonna deny it, and apparently justified it by saying, "Oh, well, we have the right to refuse service to anybody," and which is true. Look, let's be completely honest. You know, private businesses do have the right. They do reserve the right to refuse business to anyone. Although that could be different, I'm sure, in certain states, but at least I know in Texas and places like Florida, I mean, you could do that, but it's like, but why? Why would you do it? I mean, this person's spending money at your show. When you want them to continue to spend money at your show, even if you don't care for them, I mean, green doesn't discriminate. But then I guess it was supposed to be a moral thing. Like, we don't care about money. That's why we did it. It's like, but if you didn't care about money, you would have kicked them out immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you would have kicked him out. You wouldn't have let him go around and get autographs or even pay for a ticket. You know, you would have just been like, we know who you are. You're not allowed in here, you know? Or maybe they just didn't identify him quick enough, you know? Like, but whatever. It's dumb, man. Yeah, but it's the world we live in, man. It's the world we live in, bro. Bro, so
go ahead.
No, go ahead, man. No, you're good. You're good.
I was gonna say, like, you know, going back to the Hawaiicon topic, with the exception of like you and Founding on Comics and Nick Ricada and One Angry Gamer, I've noticed that none of these I Stand with Vic channels, and I'm not trying to take shots.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying I've noticed that nobody else aside from you guys have actually covered the Hawaiicon thing, like since it happened or during it. I don't know. Like I do find that odd.
Well, I think it's probably because you said it's still a smaller show, so I don't know if that's why, if it just kind of fell under the radar, but I'm definitely going to be putting it out there for people to, and for those of you in chat, yeah, you know, put out the interview he did with Vic, if you can, to whoever else is out there, because it feels like it's, you know, it kind of flew under Hawaiicon, feels kind of like it, there was people talking about it, but it kind of largely flew under the radar, as opposed to some of the other shows, some of the other bigger shows that were out there. And, you know, that's probably due to the fact that they are bigger shows, like, you know, Anime Matsuri obviously is a big one. You know, Bubba Fest was probably a little bit of a bigger show, and shows like that. But I know Hawaiicon's a smaller show, but definitely, you know, we got to get some love for it too. Got to get more out there about it. There hasn't really been a lot of talk about Hawaiicon, and I know that show was attacked too, wasn't it? There was
people... and that's the thing, like, that I find to be interesting is just because when it was getting attacked, I saw all these bigger Vic supporter YouTubers covering it and talking about it for several videos, but then it's like when the event happens and then my interview comes out and all the other stuff, like, there's nothing. Just, you know, you and the others that I've talked about that have covered it, and it's like, oh, that's interesting.
Might have just I guess it's because, you know what the thing is though too, I think it might also have to do with the fact that it seems like for the most part Hawaiicon went off without a hitch. There was no incident, and like I said, and I'm not saying it's just because of there has to be drama there, but obviously that I think that kind of when there's controversy, I think that kind of gets more attention, or at least word of that spreads a little quicker. When something goes down, because I believe, like with the whole thing with Anime Matsuri, I believe that a lot of what you know, there was obviously there was people, I guess, that went there that were detractors of not only Vic, but also some of these people that cover it as well. I'm pretty sure that Tug or Hero or Nick would probably, they didn't have any, I don't think they had any encounters with anybody, luckily, but I'm pretty sure that there was people that probably apprised them of maybe people that they saw there or whatever that were saying stuff, because I know there was people that were actively throughout that weekend. And it's crazy that people have that much time. I know that there was people that were detractors of all of them that were saying stuff about them being there. You know what I mean? That were either at the show or live in Texas where that took place, that were like kind of like they had people like following them, or people that were not necessarily following them, but people that were kind of reporting into them as to what they were doing. So I'm not sure, that probably didn't really happen much at Hawaii, I guess, because it's further out. There probably wasn't very many people there starting trouble. There might have been maybe you never know. There's probably one person, maybe two people there, but I know that there was a lot more eyes on the bigger shows in terms of detractors, like kind of almost getting somebody on the inside to tell them what these people were doing. At least from what I was seeing, what I was seeing online, there was a lot of people that are like kind of reporting back to them and letting them know like, oh, this, that, or the other. And so for those of you that are in the chat, like I said, I'll go ahead and share it again here. This is his interview with Vic. If you guys could spread this around, that'd be great. You know, if you want to tag some of the other people to kind of cover this because this is a nice interview. I think that, you know, just to put out some positivity out there regarding the regarding Vic, you know, and just kind of him just really being himself. Yeah. And talking about good stuff. If you could put that out there, that'd be great. But yeah, what you're saying, Broly, yeah, I remember Ricada did talk about it in a stream. I'm just not sure anybody else has.
Yeah, I think he was the only one so far that's talked about it.
Yeah, he did one pick during the show, says Stan. So yeah, I think it was probably mostly because of that. I think that's really the reason why, not because of them actively trying. I can't speak for any of them, of course, but you know, my guess would be it's because maybe there just wasn't, you know, people trying to really start anything. I think, you know, not even with because everything like even like pictures, I think that they were taking over there. There was people like saying, you know, having to say stuff, you know, about, you know, Tug and Hero and Nick when they were out in Enemy Mastery. There was detractors of there that were out there. Oh, look at them do this, that, or the other, and just a bunch of stuff. And it was just, you know, I think that there probably wasn't as much of that going on because Hawaiicon's is a much smaller show. So, and it seems like, from everything I know about it, from what you've told me, from what I've seen Nick put out there, it seems like people there were just really genuinely friendly. So I don't think, even if people probably either don't know about Vic or are supporters of him, it seems like they knew at least enough how to conduct themselves and not start any kind of trouble over there. You know what I mean? It seems like people kind of keep to themselves, and you know what I mean?
That's how it is out here in Hawaii. I mean, of course, you have, as Lucas would say, you have your ignorance.
Yeah.
You got the ignorance in every culture, in every place. But I mean, generally in Hawaii, the way a lot of us are, our culture is very Asian influence. And when I say Asian influence, is because the dominant majority of people in Hawaii, you know, is either Japanese, Chinese, or Korean. Asians are the predominant here, and their cultural influences of subtlety and, you know, family integrity has really, you know, it takes over the culture of Hawaii. And so, you know, we're just not really about the drama. And I think also too, there are other things going on that we had out here, like the whole protests of the Mauna Kea about the telescope going up, and I think that's more something that people cared about versus the drama that was surrounding Vic. But yeah, I mean, we had a lot of, there were some people that I guess tried to get in to be detractors, but there weren't that many. There really weren't that many. And to touch on something that that I believe Broly Power mentioned, that Nick, or actually Devil Hunter, Nero, he mentioned that it was streamed. Nick Ricada streamed. He did stream, but I think the reception for him out here was just really bad. And at the hotel, the internet was trash. So I was trying to stream too, and the internet was not happening.
Yeah, Broly's bringing up a good point too. There wasn't well publicized cover. Says, I know for a fact that Come Geek Some, for instance, would report a success. This is the first of Mekel's interview I've heard of, and I'm subbed. So he subbed to your channel, and you know, and that's one thing people were surmising too. A lot of the people that have been covering this stuff have said that their videos are becoming less video because of Vic's name potentially being in the title. Like they're thinking that there's shadow banning going on with stuff covering anything that has to do with Vic, even the positive stuff, like your interview, which I wouldn't be surprised over, because there was a lot of people that were talking about a drop off in viewership on that particular content. All of them did, actually. All of them at some point in time have addressed it. You know, Tug, Hey, Flash. I know I'd all discussed it at one point. If you see their like analytics for certain videos now that people are mentioning here in the chat, and like Broly just said, Broly's been subscribed to you, and he says he didn't even know about your interview until this chat. So,
Wow.
yeah, YouTube, man, good old YouTube.
And and this is a perfect segue for me to say this to all of you who are watching. When you guys do super chats, when you join channel memberships, when you support on Patreon, for us content creators, your support means the world, because YouTube is so fickle, as Daniel Bryan would say, fickle.
Yeah.
Fickle. YouTube is so fickle that we can't really rely upon it. I mean, I was streaming. What game was that? I was streaming Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening a week ago. I didn't curse. I didn't say anything. And I'm known for doing my Casanova Campfire roasts, where I just take a person and I just roast the hell out of them. But I didn't even say anything. I think maybe you were on that stream too. And I got demonetized and I didn't do anything.
That's how it always happens, man. I've had some of my streams demonetized too, and I'm just like, not like anything at all controversial, right? And then the ones that I would think would be demonetized, it's weird how the system works, because there's streams that I've done where I'm just like, oh man, this one's gonna be demonetized for sure, and it's like still monetized, and I'm just like, what is happening here? Like, I don't get, you know what I mean? Like, I don't get what's going on here. Like streams where people have come on and they've been like cursing like sailors throughout the whole stream, and I'm like, oh man, this one's gonna get demonetized for sure. Or, you know, talking about like really like, you know, hot button stuff that you would think might get you demonetized, and then they're like fine, and I'm just like, what? And then like ones where it's just like the most tamest of conversations that you're having, you know, you're talking about this just really nice and fluffy stuff, and then those get demonetized. It's weird, man. I don't know. I can't ever read YouTube anymore with this stuff, man. I just like, at this point I'm just kind of like, whatever, I'll just, whatever is monetized is just monetized. I'm not even gonna worry about it no more. If it gets demonetized, it gets demonetized. So yeah, it is what it is. Charizard Ranger, you haven't missed much. We've just been having a nice little conversation here. Mekel went over a recap of Hawaiicon, his positive interaction with Vic throughout the weekend, and his positive interaction with people in general over there, as well as how it was like to run a video game tournament. Who else did you meet over there? So obviously, you know, you met Nick over there, and you met a couple of, I would assume a couple other YouTubers that were probably at that show that are either from Hawaii or at least, you know, came out to Hawaiicon to come check it out, right? Or was it just Nick?
I mean, other YouTubers, I mean, with the exception of my wife, the only other YouTuber I can think of that was there that had like any sort of following was Nick, really. I think Nora Ibram, I think she does YouTube. I can check. I'm not. She does. You see, she does not. So no, I think that was it.
Yeah, I was just curious about that, to see who else you had over there. Yeah, I mean, one of these days I wouldn't mind going to check it out. It'd be a good reason to head out over there to Hawaii. That's a little bit far from me because I'm on the complete opposite side of where that's at, man. I'm all the way in Florida.
You're on the other side of the world.
Yeah, it'd be a long way, man. Be a long way for me to get over there, man. But I definitely.
That's a 12-hour flight, brother.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind checking it out though. Yeah, it's a long flight though. Yeah, that's one of the things. So
I'm lucky it was only like, and I don't think people understand, like when you're flying island to island, it's usually about a 15 to 20 minute flight. So by the time you get up and they're like, oh, you can use your electronic device. As soon as you start using it, oh, stow away your items.
We're about to land. Yeah, that's funny, man. I definitely want to head out there one day though, just to see what it's like, you know, because I just look at your videos, and I'm not a beach person, and Manny and Chad could attest to this. I've, you know, hated the beach since I was a kid, just hated sand and stuff. But man, you know, seeing how clean the beaches look over there, you know, I was just like, man, it's really nice. It's really pretty over there. So I definitely want to check it out. Manny's like, you doxed yourself, John. No, I think people already at this point know where I'm located at. So it's just like it's not that much of a secret. Obviously, I'm not going to give my address. like this one cat that this other YouTuber that people know about in the chat that doxed himself recently. Yeah, we won't talk about him. He don't deserve the.
You know what's so funny is like when you make a website, and I know John, you know about this as well, but the audience doesn't know. When you make a website, you have to give a physical address.
Yeah.
And it's funny when I got doxxed, and I got doxxed right after I announced the tournament, and Vic being the person giving away the prize. So when I got doxxed and I guess people were showing up at my old address because I didn't update it. And I'm like, it's a good thing I didn't. Like you MFers don't know where I live.
Mm-hmm.
But it's insane. Like it's truly insane. How people it just takes stuff to the extreme. Really do. And what's funny is all these voice actors that threaten me are still friends with me on Facebook and still following me on Instagram and Twitter.
It's interesting, almost like they want to know they might want to know what you're still doing. Yeah. Why would they keep you on as a friend? Or maybe they forgot. It's possible maybe they just forgot because but that's so ridiculous, man. The fact that they care so much about stuff like that too. And it's just like, it ain't got nothing to do with you. And it's just like, well, I remember you and I talked about one of the ones that hit you up, and some of the things that they said in regards to your
pothead.
Yeah, in regards to your character. And it's just kind of like it's so funny that person tried to villainize you and make it seem like, and then guilt you at the same time. That's what I find interesting too, is that they'll villainize you and then they try to guilt you, try to make you feel bad about what you're doing. And it's just like, well, look at what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're basically ascribing something to me without any proof other than the fact that it's because you don't like that guy. And somehow you think that because you don't like him or because you believe something about him, that somehow that translates over into me, or it translates into some kind of endorsement of it. I mean, which I get it. Some people look at that, guilty by association. But again, you're not basing that in any kind of factual evidence. That's just your opinion.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So.
And another thing too, it was actually doing her a favor, not me, if I were to have interviewed her. Because I'm just going to say this, bitch, you haven't been relevant since you were in Persona 4. I'm sorry, I gotta put it there. That's the reason. Like, you don't have work in the voice acting or the gaming industry anymore. You just aren't relevant. Yeah. And I'm not even trying to be arrogant. It's just so funny how these people came out, and it's just, and there's a thing like I had a conversation with and this is a conversation I've had with Vic and with a couple others. But it's the way that a lot of these people, they carry themselves online. And like, I get it. The majority, well, probably almost all these voice actors, okay, you guys hate Trump. Okay, I get it. You hate him. But it's like, what happens when you have a kid or you have a fan that just likes you for your character or the way you portray yourself? And I'm not saying that you can't talk about your opinion online. But when you go on these tirades online and every other tweet is F Trump, F this person, F this, F this. Oh, I'm an ally of the LGBTQ and I'm tolerant. But then it's so hypocritical. What happens when people see that aspect of you and they don't know what to make of it? If anything, a lot of these voice actors, many that came at me, were characters. They voice characters in Pokemon and in the recent Zelda that came out, the Breath of the Wild. And my question is, if I'm Nintendo or if I'm Square Enix or any of these big companies, and or even NIS America, and I have these voice actors that are the main characters in these games, and this is how I'm name dropping without name dropping people.
Mm-hmm.
The main characters in these games that are coming out, like one that's coming out this month, Trails of Cold Steel 3, main character, Fred and me. So if these games are coming out and they're high ticket, high sought after games, and these voice actors are going on these holier than thou tirades and attacking people and doxing and all this other shit like they did to me. As a company, I would be like, you're a liability.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to, and I know people get mad at Nintendo because Nintendo does not take a political stance. Why would you?
Yeah. There's no upside to it. There's no upside to it at all. It's just something that's going to be divisive because people are going to take it and run with it, and they're going to ascribe whatever motive or whatever, whatever accusation, that they're going to make against you and say that you must support this or you must support that because you happen to even mention something in passing. So it's ridiculous, man. It's getting so out of hand right now, and the fact that people get so much into their feelings about it. Look, hey, what's up, Legendary Hero? Thanks for joining the stream. I look at it and I'm just like, I really don't care like what anybody's political opinion is about whoever. Like I really don't care. It is what it is. As long as you treat somebody right. Bro, think about this. You were talking about cancel culture earlier, and I had forgotten to mention this. Recently, I don't know if you saw the whole thing with Ellen the DeGeneres, where they tried to cancel her, or at least they were trying to make something out of it, like with her, because somebody had, I think it was last week, and she was at some kind of sports game with George W. Bush, and people were trying to say stuff about her. It's just like,
Again?
yeah, they were trying to say stuff about her, like, you're friends with the warmonger and a war criminal and all this stuff. And they were trying to get up on her about it. And she was just like, hey, look, she addressed it on her show. She's like, hey, look, this guy is a friend of mine. You know what I mean? And I like him. We get along, and I'm going to be nice to everybody. She's like, despite what my leanings are, what my political leanings are, I believe in being nice to everyone and having conversations with people, even the ones I don't disagree with. And she just left it at that. I'm like, good for you. She didn't apologize for it. She just was like, yeah, I was with him there. So what? You know what I mean? We were talking, it's all good. So and that's the thing. More people like that need to come out, and when I mean like that, I don't mean I mean like progressive or liberal or whatever. Because if you're for progressive, if you're for progressivism, I mean, you would think that you would want to, you want progress, so you want to keep things moving forward. You're gonna come out and say something and show people, look, it's okay to disagree. Let's agree to disagree and let's move on. That's it. Right. It's not a big deal. Like, people make it a much bigger thing than it needs to be. And that's the biggest problem we have right now, is people just kind of, doing this whole blanket term with everybody. Well, if you support the president, you must be this, that, or the other. And it's just like, how's about I just support, policies that he's trying to put in place. I mean, I might not agree with everything he says, but I support some of the stuff he's trying to do.
You can't have that stance.
Can't have that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, no, yeah. Carano, yeah. It's probably because of that too, because and it is hypocritical. That is hypocritical of her too. That is definitely hypocritical of her too. So she deserves backlash in that regard too, for hypocrisy a little bit, but only not in the sense of that they should try to cancel her, but it's fair to call her out on that, right? Mm-hmm. To call her out on that hypocrisy, but they shouldn't try to cancel her. You know what I'm saying? Despite that, it is hypocritical, but she shouldn't be canceled over it. Like, people shouldn't be trying to affect people's lives and livelihood over these disagreements. That's really all they come down to. It's just disagreements on stuff. So And like I said, yeah, I know you've told me a lot about the stuff that's happening with you and some of these VAs where they're hitting you up, telling you stuff, and it's just like, yo, it ain't even that serious. They can choose to ignore that. The fact that they're making it a point to take time out of their day to come at you over something that honestly is not that big of a deal says all you need to know about them.
Yeah.
That's it, and how petty they are to go at you like that.
The stupidest thing, and I had to say it to one very prominent voice actor, was, you do realize I screenshot all of it, right? They're like, what are you trying to say? What do you think it would do, since, they're an ally of minorities and such and such? I'm like, you're coming at me. I am minority.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a cancer survivor. And you're picking on me for something I haven't done. You're defaming my character, but you're supposed to be. I'm like, I could flip that. Plus, you're white.
Yeah.
Like, if I really wanted to go the progressive route, I could cancel you for coming at me like that. I'm like, come
you could
on
easily
now.
that.
This,
No foresight, man. No foresight.
None.
No foresight at all, man. Trying to come at you, bro. I have to ask you this, why I have you on, because I know for those of you in the chat that don't know, Mekel is also a huge wrestling fan. He's actually going to have Brock Lesnar on his stream. That's going to be next year, though, right? You have him booked out some months in advance. So he's going to have Brock on his stream at some point in time. And he has gotten some other wrestlers on his stream before. I wanted to ask you, bro, about the Wednesday Night Wars, about your thoughts on it, because I was there last Wednesday, when AEW premiered against NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And man, the NXT show was great. Obviously, I didn't get a chance to watch the AEW show. The general consensus about the AEW show seems to be that, or at least that I saw from reading and watching stuff online afterwards, was that people are saying that the presentation at least looked a little bit better. There was better lighting and stuff in the arena. Obviously, it's a bigger arena, and that the production quality was just slightly better than NXT. But the wrestling, the general consensus seemed to be that the wrestling for NXT was better than the wrestling on the AEW show. What's your take on everything? Did you get a chance to watch either one of them? And if you didn't, what's your overall thoughts on just this new chapter in wrestling history, man, that we're coming across?
I got to see AEW Dynamite. Wednesday Night Dynamite, and presentation slightly better than NXT, but I don't think anyone can contest that NXT is the best wrestling across the board. With their main competition, I would say if anyone's putting on better wrestling than them or equivalent to them, it had to be New Japan. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I mean, in comparing what I get to see with AEW and with NXT, and I watched both, NXT, it was better wrestling, but the only thing I can see that both of them really don't do a whole lot of is the storytelling aspect, like Raw and SmackDown. Mm-hmm. But I understand they're more about the action. The thing is, my problem with AEW, they don't really do a lot of storytelling, and I don't understand. Like, they're throwing people out there with no build-up. Mm-hmm. Like the whole thing with their All Out pay-per-view where they had Jericho versus Hangman Page. I know who Hangman Page is because I followed when they were in the Bullet Club. But if you didn't watch Being the Elite, you don't follow New Japan Pro Wrestling, how are you going to know who any of these people are? Mm-hmm. Like, the only people that you would know is Chris Jericho. And really, I mean, how many people are going to know Cody Rhodes? Yeah. Unless you follow the Rhodes family, you know who Dusty Rhodes is. Casual wrestling fans are going to be like, isn't that Stardust? Or if they even remember who Stardust is. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, you had Jack Swagger come back. Yeah. He was not even that big in WWE. And then they're trying to make him like he's this big guy. Yeah, he's dominating MMA, but he's also in Bellator.
Yeah.
He's not a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like seeing the new faces, but what I kind of have noticed with AEW from all their pay-per-views and also from their from Wednesday Night Dynamite, and I'm trying to tread carefully with this because I am going to be interviewing Cody Rhodes down the road next year.
So be on the lookout for that, y'all. Just putting it out there.
They're actually recently in Hawaii, so that's how I was able to get that. But I feel like AEW is trying so hard to get those "this is awesome" or "holy shit" chants. And I get that, but NXT is about quality.
Yeah.
And yes, this is the first week. It was good, but can they maintain that consistency across the board? Can they do this week in and week out? And I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, this is WCW versus WWE again." I'm like, no, if this is WCW versus WWE again, if this is the Monday Night Wars, AEW, 1, wouldn't be on Wednesday night. 2, they would be going head to head with Raw. They're not. So effectively, they themselves have made themselves a B show. And it's all about the, like Corono said, it's really about the high spots. And the thing is, they do a lot of reckless things. It's kind of sloppy, their in-ring work compared to NXT. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's one thing with looking at how they compare side by side with one another. One thing I've noticed about AEW is it seems to me like they're really trying to capitalize, which I don't blame them for this. It's a smart strategy too, is they're definitely trying to capitalize on the disillusioned WWE fans. Yeah. But the thing is, I think that they also kind of forget. It's almost like there's fans out there, there's wrestling fans out there that forget this, and maybe AEW, people at AEW also forget this, that the people that are disillusioned with, say, how things are going on Raw and SmackDown, they watch NXT anyways. So they know it's the best thing that WWE's got going for them right now. And that's the other thing too. One thing I noticed, that I think is a little bit disingenuous with some of these wrestling fans that are like what you described, that might be those, about those chants that are that kind of wrestling fan. It's almost like they're I hate to say it, but like it's almost like they're wrestling hipsters to a degree. You know what I mean? They want to be so anti WWE that they won't even, like, they so want to be so anti WWE that they will willfully deny the fact that NXT is the kind of wrestling that they like, but they don't want to admit it because it still has WWE attached to it. Like I saw this last year when I went to a panel, or this was actually the year before last, when I went to a wrestling panel at MagFest. The guys that were running the panel were talking about they were talking about how great New Japan was, and they were talking about all the other great promotions. And I'm sitting here waiting for, and here's the funny thing too, they mentioned NXT wrestlers, guys that were signed to NXT at the time as being these really great wrestlers, but didn't mention NXT at all. And I'm just like, so y'all are just going to pretend NXT doesn't exist? Like, really? And you all just name dropped, like the guy name dropped Johnny Gargano. He name dropped a couple of the other guys that were part of the NXT roster. I'm like, y'all really going to pretend like NXT doesn't exist? For real? You know what I mean? You're talking about wrestlers that are on their brand, you know what I mean, that are on NXT, and you're going to pretend like NXT isn't doing just as good as the other guys that you mentioned as an alternative to watching Raw or SmackDown. Really? Just because it's associated with WWE? Or that's the sense that I got from it, that they were just like kind of like willfully, tiptoeing around that. And I'm just kind of like, and I see a lot of that still kind of being the same, that these people, they're just so anti WWE that they don't want to acknowledge like how great NXT is. To me, NXT's got the best thing going right now in terms of, I would say, not just wrestling, but even the story aspect of it too. Some of the stories are, even though it's not as story driven as say Raw or SmackDown, the storylines are still a lot more coherent and consistent than what's going on in Raw and SmackDown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way they're pushing the guys and all that, like everything at least makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's not this deep storytelling that they're trying to do like they do on Raw and SmackDown. So I think, look, they're going head to head with NXT, and I think that honestly, you know, they got a fight on their hands, man. They got a real fight on their hands to overcome, because they're going. It might be the smallest of the three brands for WWE, but it's definitely their best quality in terms of what's going on in ring. So, I mean, they have their hands full with just that.
If you think about it too, when Triple H takes over, it's done. It's a wrap.
I think so too.
And one of the things too, to point the hypocrisy of these wrestling fans, and I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts, a lot of wrestling YouTubers. There are huge hypocrites that are just so anti WWE. Anything that WWE does, they hate. All these people that we want the Attitude Era back. We want Attitude Era back. Look at the angle with Bobby Lashley and Rusev and Lana.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's Attitude Era.
Yep.
But these same people are like, I don't want this on my wrestling. I don't want this. What is this? This is trash. Yeah. I'm like, but that's Attitude Era. Yeah. Have we forgot what happened with Edge and Lita and Matt Hardy?
Goldust, Marlena, and Brian Pillman. You remember that angle?
Yeah.
Same angle that they're doing with Rusev, Bobby Lashley, and Lana. Same angle. Well, kind of the same. We'll say kind of the same, but similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the other thing too is like with people being upset with Kofi losing in 7 seconds. And I'm like, wait, did y'all forget what happened to Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania with what's the redhead dude?
Big Show.
No, was it Big Show or was it the red? What's the Celtic Warrior? Sheamus.
Oh, it was Sheamus.
No, he beat him in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like people were going on and crying on social media, and I'm like, look at the fact that this is. I'm like, look at it like this. If we were to compare, because it's very easy to compare Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan. Neither one were meant to be champion. Neither one were meant to be the guy. You look at every person that they have put the strap on, and yes, I'm saying the strap. They put them. The title does not make the person. If they put it on you, and they protected Kofi for 6.5 months.
Yeah, he was a good champ. He was the defending champ.
Yeah, he defended it. He was there every week, but as a champ, he was boring. He was goofy. And personally, for me, I'm like, dude, you got to stop with the pancake thing. You need a harder theme coming out. You need a different character. He was the same person. And I think people really resonated with Kofi because they like the angle of the underdog. But once the underdog isn't fighting to get the title, people lose interest.
Yeah.
And you know, he lost. He wasn't fighting. He went up against Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan. He went up against whatchamacallit, Randy Orton. You know, they had a really good set of matches. But then he went up against Brock, and of course, Fox wants Brock as the champ. You got to deliver on that. I'm sorry, Kofi was not, and I met Kofi, got to hang out with him a little bit when WWE came out here to Hawaii. Really cool people, really cool guy, but he's not a star. And I'll be honest, like the current roster, you don't really have stars. You do on NXT. You got Ciampa, you got Gargano, you got Velveteen, Adam Cole. You've got stars, but in this current era, you don't have people like The Rock. You don't have people like Stone Cold.
You don't.
The Fiend is the Fiend is the closest they have to a star, and they screwed up with that ending.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like stuff like that is where they go wrong when they drop the ball with stuff like with the Fiend. I mean, honestly, look, they could have made it if they don't want to pass the title off to the Fiend yet. They should have actually flipped that around, right? Where he beat Seth Rollins so bad to the point that it was a no contest. It should have been done that way, right? If you want to prolong that feud a little bit more and have him chase the title a little bit longer, and that would have made more sense, honestly, because that's one thing that with that ending to the Hell in the Cell, I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. It should be the reverse. It should be the Fiend beating down Seth Rollins so bad that the ref is just like, yo, he can't continue. This is a no contest. Like this match ain't even started. This is done. You know what I mean? And have him just completely brutalized, not the other way around. That made like no sense at all to me. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, especially with all the buildup you had up to this point. It should have been the other way around. If you want to continue this going forward, him chasing Seth for the belt, you know, and build it up more, because it's obvious that, let's be real here, it's obvious that the people are behind the Fiend gimmick, man. They want to see him get the strap. So if you want to prolong that, then you do it the opposite way. You have him brutalize Seth to the point that it's a no contest and they can't continue no more. You know what I mean? To keep him strong, but to also keep that anticipation that he still has to chase the belt, because tonight he didn't win it because of something he did, sure, but you know what I mean? Like, that would have been the way to do it, not like how they ended up doing it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? None of that makes any sense. So I think they definitely screwed that up, especially with all the build-up they've put into it. The Kofi, and I get people's arguments with the Kofi. They shouldn't have done Kofi like that, but it's Brock. How many times have they had Brock squash guys before? It's not like this is anything new. That it's kind of interesting that people are upset, because it's just like, this is not like, they haven't just done this with Kofi. They've done this with a lot of other guys that have been built up too. You know what I mean? That he's gone in there and he's decimated them, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that big of a surprise. And when you think about what they had, because I'll be honest, the one thing I did like about the SmackDown episode was the stuff with Cain Velasquez at the end. I thought that was fantastic. I'm like, and when you see how he squashed them, Kane comes out, okay, it makes perfect sense what they're doing here and why they did it like this. They have to reestablish Brock as this monster heel once again. Who's going to take out this monster heel? You got a compelling story there with the guy in MMA that gave him a beatdown. You know what I mean? When they fought, which is Kane. And Kane looks so unassuming. I mean, you look at him, he doesn't have the physique like Brock does, but homeboy can fight. You know what I mean? I saw that fight live, you know what I mean? And I remember I was the only one at the table, because we went to go watch it at I think it was Buffalo Wild Wings. We went to go watch it at this place called Gators Dockside, which is like Buffalo Wild Wings. And I remember I was the only one at the table, because people were like, who do you think's gonna win tonight? You think Brock or Kane? I said, yo, Kane's gonna whip him. Oh, but Brock is so big. And I said, yo, y'all think that it's just about strength. I said, y'all must have never seen Fedor Emelianenko fight in his heyday. I was like, body type, strength, none of that matters. I said, it's all about skills. I said, don't get me wrong. I said, if Brock is able to wrestle him down to the ground and just keep him down the entire fight, he could win this. I said, but if he takes Kane down and Kane is able to get back up to his feet with ease, he's not going to win this fight. And that's exactly what happened, bro. That's exactly how the fight played out. He managed to take Kane down. Kane got right back to his feet, took him down again, got right back up to his feet, and then Brock was gassed, and I was like, this fight's over. I was like, this is done. And then Kane just destroyed him, bro. Just destroyed him. And in a rematch, it would be the same. Nothing would change there, man. So let me see. Carano says, do you know about Kane? Yeah, man. I followed Kane's career for a long time, man. Long before he fought for the belt, man. I've been a fan of MMA for a long time, man. You know, since back when the first UFC started, man, I've always been a fan. So I've been following Kane's career for a long time, and I knew that him being the champ, the heavyweight champ, was inevitable, because he had all the tools, man. He had the striking, he had the wrestling, you know. He in his cardio, bro, second to none in that division. Yeah. So I knew that guy was it was only a matter of time before that guy was gonna be champ. And when he was gonna fight Brock, I was just like, he's gonna whoop Brock. I was like, he's gonna mollywop him. You know, Brock is a one-trick pony. So, and Kane proved that to be right. So, so the idea of them having that built-in history, I think plays in well, especially considering that the UFC, like, they support, you know, Dana White's very good friends with Vince McMahon. So they've always had a really good relationship the UFC and the WWE. So the fact that there's that built-in story there, and I don't know, have you gotten a chance to see Kane Russell?
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. So he took to it like a fish to water. The fact that he pulled off that Hurricane Rana, that's it. Big men usually don't do stuff like that. For those of you that are here that are wrestling fans, you all know that big men don't usually get off their feet. You know, they usually just do high impact moves like what Brock does, you know, where it's just kind of throwing people around and stuff like that. Men that big usually ain't out there doing Hurricane Ranas and stuff like that. And his timing on everything was impeccable. You know what I mean? It was so fluid. I'm like, wow, he really took to it like a fish to wrestling, because just because you were a wrestler in high school or college, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to transition over into professional wrestling. A lot of them do end up transitioning pretty well because of their muscle memory and things like that. You know, obviously Brock, Chad Gable, he transitioned well into Kurt Angle. You know, Kane, who is also a Division I wrestler in college. You know what I mean? They all transfer over well. But there's a lot of guys that don't. There's a lot of guys that don't necessarily transition over that well. You know, these guys are some of the few that have. So I'm looking forward to seeing what a Kane versus Brock match looks like in WWE.
Do you think where do you think their match will take place? Some people, I see Charizard Ranger said it looks like it may go to Crown Jewel. The thing is, and I know, okay, and I want to get your opinion on this, on the Crown Jewel thing. So many people, so many YouTubers that are, you know, wrestling YouTubers shit on WWE working with Crown Jewel. The thing is, money talks, people.
Yeah, it's a bit. At the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't understand. I enjoy the Crown Jewel events. I mean, yeah, it's not the most optimal place to be, but if they throwing billions at you to come over there, then and you're a business and you're like, hey, this is a easy couple billions I can make once or twice, maybe 3 times a year.
I mean, yeah, you got to go with the money. At the end of the day, it's still a business. Take care, Charizard Ranger. Thanks for joining. And to address what you're saying, yeah, I know that Kane needs knee surgery. So I think they shouldn't do it at Crown Jewel. I think that's one that you should try to push out to Mania. Or if you can't do it at Mania, if because of his knee surgery it takes longer for him to rehab, then I would say maybe push it out to one of your bigger pay-per-views. So maybe we'll say at latest maybe SummerSlam next year, maybe. Although I would like to see it take place sooner than that. I think that Mania would be the way to go with that match. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it all depends on Kane's knee. But yeah, to speak to what you're talking about with Crown Jewel, to me, look, I get it. I mean, look, obviously I don't care for the you know, how things are in Saudi Arabia and the things that they have to adhere to be able to put on a show there. But at the end of the day, look, it's a business. They got to keep the lights on. And if they're getting paid, you know, the fat cash to keep those lights on, they got to do what they got to do to survive. I mean, it's kind of, yeah, you know, one could say because of the questionable stuff of the Saudi Arabian government, I get all that. But, you know, as long as the WWE is not expected to promote any kind of that country's politics on their product, I think it's fine. I mean, it's just another place for them to put on a show. Yes, they have to adhere to certain things with that country. Obviously, I know that they don't want the women wrestling there, especially not dressed the way that the women dress. In the clothing that they dress, they would have to be covered from head to toe in order to wrestle there. And even then, I don't think they want them to wrestle there. And that kind of, yeah, you know, that sucks, you know. But again, it's one of those things, you know, people always say they're always concerned about how you know, other people's cultures and religions should be respected, right, when they're over here in America. But yet, what would you expect, you know, if they're going to their backyard? Well, obviously, shouldn't that same thing apply? why is it different when they go over there? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like, people get concerned about, oh, you should respect people's beliefs and this, that, or the other over here, and this, that, or the other. So, I mean, what would you expect them to do going over there? Like the old saying goes, when in Rome, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to expect them to do? Of course, they're going to adhere to what that country requires of them. And yeah, I know it's stuff that doesn't necessarily align with our ideology and beliefs over here, but what can you do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And,
So
and that's the thing too, is like, this is why I don't understand with this progressive push. I call it regressive, but they say progressive. The thing to me that I find concerning is you cannot really push this tolerance and equality and not affecting other cultures, and yet you want to change, like, this whole global, we talk about globalization.
yeah,
They're trying to talk about this global system, these global, we're all the human rights, where there's some places in the world where that's not the case.
yeah,
It doesn't exist. And this idea that everyone has to adhere to these rules that are not universally agreed upon, it doesn't work. The progressive push is not, I don't think they're very long-sighted when they think about it. It's not going to work overall, because there are just some places that just aren't going to go for it. Some cultures that are not. And I don't think that they understand that. And I think a lot of what's going on with how America as a whole is changing on a foundational core, a lot of it has to do with the fact we haven't had a war in a while. I personally, I mean, I've seen it in the sense of, like, when 9/11 comes around and people now it's mocked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that such a tragic day is mocked.
Yeah, it's crazy. But people want to be offended about pronouns and things like that. They want to be they want to be offended by things that, in the grand scheme of things, are nowhere near as big of a deal.
So since we're talking about pronouns, I want people. I identify as a receipt. Okay. You can use receipt, cash on delivery, whatever. Just, I'm a receipt. Yeah, I don't understand this. Like, where did that come from? I don't
know, man. It's just but it goes in line with like what we've been talking about with cancel culture and things like that. Just things that make people feel a certain way, and them putting their feelings over, over pretty much reality, man. Over what's actually true. Over the facts and the evidence. And it's, again, look, and that's not to say that look, whatever people want to be called, that's fine. They have the right to that, I guess, if they want to identify how they want to identify. But my point was saying what I said before is that that's where people have kind of lost the they've lost their sight there a little bit, because they prioritize and things like that honestly are very small in comparison to the bigger things. I mean, think about that for a moment. We have people that will mock something, a really traumatic thing that happened to people here in this country, people that lost loved ones, right? Mm-hmm. And how they'll trivialize that, but they'll make a big deal out of these small things, these things that are, well, I should say things that are much smaller in comparison, and want to be offended by things just to be offended by them, when they're really not, again, in the grander scheme of things, are not as big of a deal. I mean, look, there's people that had to bury their loved ones that they're, they ain't getting them back. Once you're gone, you're gone. That's it. You know what I mean? But people want to get upset about, like I said, much smaller things in comparison that really don't matter. Well, I don't like that you said that. What you say offends me. And people that want to be offended for other people, I find that to be interesting too. When you hear people that are trying to be offended on behalf of other people, you know what I mean, and you know, of other races and stuff like that. And I'm just kind of like, I never asked you to be offended for me as a minority. I'm okay, you know. So I'll worry about that myself. But so people have lost the plot, man. It's crazy. But we'll go ahead and take some questions here from the chat. Chat, feel free to ask some questions now, and then we'll go ahead and start wrapping things up because we've been going a little over 2 hours at this point. And it's been a great conversation. So let me just thank you once again for being here, Mekel. But
you already know, Newsweek is going to be trying to make a hit piece on this.
oh yeah, maybe. You never know, right? You know, that Newsweek guy, that's funny, which again, not going to mention his name here in the chat, but it seems like that guy was really trying to really get his name out there and have people. I always find that funny when people write those kind of when they write those kind of articles, that you can tell that they're, you know, obvious. I mean, it's obvious that they're hit pieces, and you can tell that they're doing it so that they can get like people to tweet at them or hit them up and harass them and threaten them, so they could say, "Oh, look at this person's followers," or look at these people that are threatening and harassing me for me reporting on this and blah blah blah, and they make themselves the victim. It's just like, you know what, man, I'm not even going to give you the opportunity to be able to say that. That's why when I made like my Ruben video addressing it, I didn't mention the guy's name at all, even though I'm, you know, people could find that information for themselves. And I also said, look, don't, you know, if you find out who it is, don't go after him. It's not worth the time. And honestly, a lot of those people aren't worth the time. They're really not. They're not worth the publicity.
Yeah.
They're not worth even mentioning. That's how insignificant those kind of situations should be to people, that, you know, you give them no kind of publicity at all. That's why, like, you know, I'll criticize people, and it's not a thing of me not saying their name because of any kind of fear of repercussion from them. I really don't care. It's just like, to me, it's just like they don't even deserve their name mentioned. You know, they haven't earned that on here for me. So why am I going to say it? So Manny in chat said Newsweek is basura de jour. Basura is I don't know, trash in Spanish, but yeah, but it's true. It's, you know, all those sites, you know, Newsweek, Kotaku, Polygon, Eurogamer, they're all trash, man. You know, and then on the anime side, you have Anime News Network, you know, as a whole. And I mean, and that's the most naming you'll get out of it. You don't even have to go after anybody specifically, but people already know that. They already know that with these sites, you know, that they're just always looking for stories where they can just drag people's name through the mud. I saw, who was it? There was a story recently that broke, which to me shows how pathetic some of these game media sites are. So the PewDiePie actually stopped by the Quartering's chat on one of his live streams and said what was up to him. That's it. That's all he said in chat. And it was legit PewDiePie. He went on there, he went on to one of the Quartering streams, and all he said was, "What's up?" And bro, the very next day, the Game Show Media was saying, you know, the headline was, PewDiePie stops by alt-right YouTuber the Quartering's chat, you know, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And I saw somebody put out there, must have been a slow news day for them, you know, you know, that they're going that far, man. Homeboy, all he did was stop by the Quartering's chat and say what's up, and that was enough for them to write a story about, man. You know, see, look, you know, PewDiePie is all right, you know, and Nazy, you know, and go off on a tirade. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is getting peak levels ridiculous, man. This is just pants on head, bro. Ridiculous. Oh, somebody's asking you a question in chat. It says ecstasy furo. How would you say that?
Furabayashi.
Furabayashi. Mekel, yeah. Are you going to expose those who threaten you online ever since you interviewed Vic?
I kind of already have on this stream.
Yeah.
But as far as directly name dropping, the individuals. There's a part of me that wants to like just go out and just slander these people, but I'm taking the bigger road, the better road, and being a bigger person because I feel like if I'm going to open that door, it's not going to end well for either side. I mean, I just put it this way: if they, I'm gonna pull a Scott Hall 1996. You want a war?
Yeah.
Because if they really, you in ecstasy, me. Anyone starts something, I finish it.
Yeah.
They don't want to go after me, but out of respect to my brand, the things that I do, and for people in the industry that I know, I wouldn't want this to affect them because there are some really good people in the voice acting community
Yeah.
that don't get involved in all of this. And I would not want to go out and start a war that they can't finish
Yeah.
because there are a lot of casualties that would be caught up in that. And I don't, the professional side of me is not willing to do that. But I've name dropped people. There are certain games coming out like Trails of Cold Steel 3 where the main character said some things. I mean, y'all can easily go and find who that person is. But I'm not gonna directly name drop. I'm not gonna do that. But if they come at me, trust and believe, I will finish it.
Yeah. And I would expect that too. Exactly. If they push you to that point, then I think it would be justified. But exactly, and the other thing too is it's just taking the high road. It's just just being integrity. And look, it's always fun to just point and laugh at these people, and people can draw their own conclusions. Like I said, that's one thing. One thing I say, like in regards to because I've made fun of people on that side before too, and stuff like that on before and publicly. But truth be told, I don't wish them any ill will, but at the same time, I would be of the same mindset too. Exactly. Hey, look, don't push me, and there's things don't need to get ugly. But also, like I said before, they just don't deserve any kind of publicity like that, in my opinion. And there's so many of them too that are just kind of
Disillusioned.
Disillusioned hang-ons that you could tell that they're just doing what they're doing for some kind of controversy or drama as it is. But even then, it's just not worth it. Yeah, you get to keep your integrity stays intact, and not that it necessarily wouldn't be intact if you defended yourself, because of course you should defend yourself when people are weaving lies or trying to paint you a certain way. That should be something that anybody should do. And obviously, and I know you wouldn't offer no apologies, which is good. But yeah, the people, I mean, I'm pretty sure people in this chat can probably draw their own conclusions as to who is referring to. And that should be as far as it should go for the time being. Like I said, because they're not even worth it. I mean, these are people that all I see is with a lot of these VAs that are out there that have done what they've done. They've shown their they've lifted the mask and shown their real face. And honestly, as far as where they'll be like 5 years from now, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think that they've done themselves any favors with any of the stuff that they've done with the way that they've acted publicly and behind closed doors. I don't think they've done themselves any kind of favors. And in time, they're just going to fade into obscurity. The one thing that they fear more than anything else is the one thing that I think they've ensured that is going to happen much sooner than it probably would have because of the way that they've acted. That's my take on it.
Not only that, and this is something, my sister Ecstasy in the chat can attest to, and also Stan as well. When you mess with us Islanders, you mess with us Polynesians, Samoans, us Hawaiians, Filipinos, you mess with one of us, You're messing with the whole damn population. I'm just saying, don't start nothing. There won't be nothing. And no, people, this
Exactly.
is not a threat of violence.
No.
But if you want to go in a war of words, I will eviscerate you. Exactly. To you. I can't do it because I break the microphone if I went full full Samoan and Polynesian on 'em. But you don't want to mess with us Polynesians. You don't. And I don't, yeah. And you're right, man. And when I look at it, the perfect example of how to conduct yourself when you're being slandered by people, look at Vic. Look at Vic. He was slandered. He did not slander anyone else. And the victims were the ones on the offense, not the accuser.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. And all the people that accused him too, they've all but faded into obscurity after making their claims. And once they were challenged on those claims too, especially, they faded when some of them were debunked outright, faced with evidence. Those faded away. They faded into obscurity. And it's going to be the same with a lot of these people's careers that decided that they were going to just go ahead and dogpile on this man. I mean, they're going to fade into obscurity. Nobody's going to care. They might have people that care about them now a little bit more than they did before this started, but that's going to go away. That's not going to be sustainable for them. That's not going to last. That's only for those people that want to feel good, like they're virtue signaling about something in the moment. They're going to feel good for a little bit. Yeah, I got behind a cause. I got behind this person that said this horrible thing happened to him, but they're not going to ride for you long. You know what I mean?
No.
They're writing for you for brownie points now so that they could look like a good person online. But are they coming out to the show to see you? Are they coming out to pay for your autograph? Are they traveling across the country to come see you? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe some of them are if they're that desperate to I guess win some kind of favor with you. But for the most part, their support goes as far as online, and that's it, because they're that lazy. They're not going to go beyond that. Their support just goes as far as a retweet, as maybe a DM, or as far as a comment on one of your Facebook posts, and that's it. And that will eventually go away. Eventually they'll forget about you. So
and Devil Hunter Nero, you're right. You don't mess with Samoans. You don't mess with Tongans. You don't mess with Hawaiians. And Haku, the great Haku, that's my uncle.
Oh snap! You didn't tell me that, bro. We gotta talk. We gotta talk after this, bro. Haku, I've heard the stories, bro. I've heard the stories, man, and I heard a lot of wrestlers, corroborate the stories. The legend of Haku. So for those of you that don't know, Haku is said to be one of the toughest, one of the legit tough guys behind the scenes in wrestling. Like his stories, the stories of stuff that he's done that people have personally witnessed are legendary, and a lot of them are true because several people have corroborated them, have eyewitness testimonies of some of the stuff he's done and said, yeah, that really happened. That's not a myth. That was for real. I was there. And the person that said it like that, that's exactly how it happened. Like a lot of people have corroborated, the legend of Haku. So, man, we should probably that feels like it would be a whole nother stream altogether, just talking about some of the legends out there about Haku. But we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up right here. Get in any more questions that you all have, because we'll go ahead and wrap this up in a couple minutes here, in about like 2 minutes. So if you guys got any more questions for Mekel while he's here, please feel free to ask him in the chat. Or if you have any questions for myself before we call this stream for the night. But man, Haku, they had to talk about Haku, man. Haku, I loved his work in WCW as Ming.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. It was funny because I used to tongue and death grip people, just messing around. I used to go up to him and do the whole little thing he used to do before, the whole little hand gestures before doing the tongue and death grip sign. I used to do that to people in high school, playing around, with my friends. I didn't actually tongue and death grip anybody, hurting him or anything. But yeah, toughest SOB in wrestling. Yeah, pretty much. According to everybody, including like Hulk, Stone Cold, and a bunch of other people, they all kind of universally agree that yeah, he's probably the toughest SOB in wrestling. So you asked a question, man. What'd you ask? Hold on. Mekel, serious question. Have you ever told someone Pami Casanovas?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. What are you talking about, Manny? What's going on? What does that mean? It was a good question too. Okay,
I don't get it.
I don't know either, man. What do you mean by that, bro? What's that all about? I don't know. I guess he'll follow it up with it if he can here. Hurry up, man. You got a minute. Hurry. Chop, chop, chop. That's my brother right there, man. He's my best friend. He's the one that's done all the content with me.
Oh, my sister wants me to do the Chihu. The Faumu. You want me to do the Faumu? Oh, God. Okay.
I guess if you want to do it to close it out, yeah, go ahead, man. Oh, dang. All right. I can see why you didn't do it to the mic. Okay, so Manny said, Pami Casanova. So he's saying basically that's Spanish. To my house, you won't go, Casanova.
Oh, okay.
He's saying,
I get it now.
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and end the stream right there. Mekel, tell people where they can find you, and let me go ahead and post your interview with Vic one last time. For those of you that haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's a really good interview that Mekel had with Vic at Hawaiicon. If you could tag some other people to keep sharing it around, I think it's a good interview that really shows, that I think shows a really positive side of Vic. So be sure to spread it around if you can. But tell people where they can find you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can find me. I'm on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova. You can catch me on social media, so Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's the same across the board. You just change the front part. You can be YouTube or Instagram or such and such. That last part after the slash, always Mekel Kasanova. You're always going to find me that way. I've got the #1 podcast in Hawaii, the Kasanova podcast, and I just ran out of breath. Damn. the Kasanova podcast, which is the #1 podcast in Hawaii. You can find me there. It's available on all podcast outlets: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora. I just ask one thing: if you do listen to my podcast, if you sub to it, please leave a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it and a comment, because if you don't, they don't promote or push it on Apple Podcasts, and a lot of companies use that as the metric that they post it off. I got a lot of people listening consistently. I just need some of y'all people to go out and rate and comment. If you follow me on YouTube, just give me a sub. It seems like YouTube, even if you sub and ding the notification bell, I don't know what's going on with YouTube these days. But I always appreciate the subs. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Once at 11 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time, and then the second stream's always at 6 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. So 6 times a week, you get a stream, you get a podcast every single Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 2 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And you get 1 to 2 reviews of either video games or tech a week. So yeah, and I'm starting a new podcast, The Art of the Cast, which is going to be completely unfiltered and uncensored. I'm going to have to put that on Twitch.
Oh, snap.
I'm going to have to put that on Twitch because I feel like YouTube is going to demonetize me, because there's some things I say on my streams that I'm like, yeah, I can't keep it here. But that's going to be on my Twitch, twitch.tv/Mekel Kasanova. You can catch me over there when I start that, which probably will start next week, Art of the Cast. But anyway.
Awesome. Yeah. And for those of you, I also have it linked in the description below. I have his channel linked. It's Mekel Kasanova. So be sure to check it out. Subscribe to him. You all know how to get a hold of me. But this is where we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Oh, Viva la Raza. Happy birthday to the late, great Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, rest in peace, Eddie. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm definitely going to have Mekel on again sometime in the future. Hopefully sometime sooner than because there's a lapse in between this one. So hopefully we can have you back on sooner. But yeah, be sure, like I said, try to spread his video interview with Vic around. Like I said, it's a really good interview, and let's get some traction behind it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate you all very much, and I'll be posting, of course, when I'll be doing the next live stream here on the channel. Maybe I'll be doing something either Friday or Saturday, so be sure to pay attention to either here or Twitter for that announcement. So that's pretty much it. Until next time, y'all know how it goes. The hunt continues. Y'all have a great night.